We are on the record for hearings in the matter listed in the North Dakota Industrial Commission hearing docket for November 21st. I'm David Garner, hearing examiner for these hearings. We're at the hearing room for the Department of Mineral Resources, Oil and Gas Division, and it is 9:01 a.m. On the docket, the following matters will be continued or dismissed. Case number 31353, continued. Case number 31300, continued. Case number 31373, dismissed. Case number 31358, continued. Case number 31301, continued. Case number 31302, continued. Case number 31154, continued. Case number 31151, continued. The administrative docket starts on page 4 with case number 31359 and goes through case number 31390 and includes case number 31351 and 31315 from the administrative docket. From the supplement. The cases will be heard in the next room with Michael Zisch. Audio recordings of the cases in the administrative docket will be placed on the oil and gas website by the end of the week. If you wish to appear in one of the matters on the administrative docket, please appear in the next room. If there is opposition to the matter, it will be brought back into this hearing room to be heard, and your statements and evidence will be taken. We will begin with moving to case number 31349. Application of Grayson Mill Operating LLC for an order amending the field rules for the Alger Bakken Pool, Montreal County, North Dakota, to create and establish 3 overlapping 25 60-acre spacing units comprised of sections 25, 26, 35, and 36, sections 26, 27, 34, and 35, and sections 28, 29, 32, and 33, Township 155 North, Range 92 West, authorizing the drilling of a total not to exceed 2 wells on or near the section line between existing spacing units of each proposed overlapping 25 60-acre spacing unit and such other relief. All interested parties, please come forward.
Thank you, Mr. Examiner. Lawrence Bender, P.O. Box 1855, Bismarck, and I'm appearing in case 31349 on behalf of Grayson Mill Operating, LLC. We intend to call 3 witnesses in this matter. Our first witness will be in the area of land, Mr. Bush Thoma, T-H-O-M-A. Second witness will be a geologic witness, Ms. Catherine Henry, and our third witness will be an engineering witness, Ms. Nikki Dixon. And all these witnesses will be called by telephone.
Mr. Thoma.
Yes.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
I do.
Bush, would you state your full name for the record, please?
Bush Thoma.
And Bush, by whom are you employed and in what capacity? And I indicated I was representing Grayson Mill Operating LLC. If there's been a merger since this application was submitted, can you describe that for us as well?
Sure. I'm a senior landman for Devon, and Devon purchased Grayson Mill, and so there's a merger filed early this week and subsequent name change. So the entity now is Devon Energy Williston LLC.
And have you testified before the commission previously?
I have.
And have you had your qualifications accepted as that of an expert?
I have.
We'd offer the further testimony of this witness out of an expert.
Motion granted.
Okay, Bush, let's turn to the first exhibit in the packet of exhibit. It's been previously marked as Exhibit L1. Could you identify that exhibit, please, and then briefly discuss what's contained upon it?
Sure. This is the regional locator map and field depiction of the proposed spacing unit. They're outlined in yellow in the Alger field.
Okay, and the outline is in 15592 with the yellow or orange squares. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right, let's go to the next exhibit, L2. Can you once again identify and briefly discuss what's contained upon that exhibit?
Sure. These are the existing spacing units, all in Township 155 North, Range 92 West, with Grayson Mill / Devon respective working interests.
Okay, and it's a combination of 1280s and 640s, and you have designated the working interest of Grayson Mill on each one of these spacing units. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, let's go on then to Exhibit L3. Can you tell me what Exhibit L3 is?
L3 is the proposed 25 to 60 acre spacing unit consistent of sections 25, 26, 35, and 36 in 155 and 92. Devon has a 40.63% working interest.
Okay, and Exhibit L4.
Exhibit L4 is the proposed 25 to 60 acre spacing unit, sections 26, 27, 34, 35, 155, 92. Devon has 61.66% working interest.
And Exhibit L5.
L5 is proposed 25 to 60 acre spacing unit, sections 28, 29, 32, and 33, 155, 92. Devon has 78.84% working interest.
And if we can just go back for a moment, Bush, to Exhibit L3. In that particular spacing unit, you represent that Grayson Mill will own less than a majority interest. In that situation, will Grayson Mill have conversations with other working interest owners to determine who should be the operator?
Yes.
And will the engineering exhibit go into detail in terms of where the proposed section line wells will be located on each of these 2560s?
Yes.
No further questions.
Any questions from the staff? Ms. Henry,
Yes,
do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
yes, I do.
Catherine, would you state your full name for the record, please?
Catherine Henry,
And Catherine, by whom are you employed?
Devon Energy,
In what capacity?
geologist.
And in that capacity, have you had an opportunity to testify before the commission previously?
Yes,
Had your qualifications accepted as that of an expert?
yes.
Offer the further testimony of this witness that of an expert.
Motion granted.
Okay, Catherine, let's go to the next exhibit in the packet. It's been previously marked as Exhibit G1. As Bush did, what I'd like you to do is identify that exhibit and then briefly discuss what's contained upon it.
Sure. This is our structure map of the Upper Bakken Shale with 25-foot contours. I've also highlighted an entire outline of all the proposed spacing units, and then I've highlighted the tag log in yellow. It's the throwback 1-35.
Okay, and G2?
G2 is the tag log that I referenced, the throwback 1-35. The middle Bakken thickness is 51 feet, and the three-fourths first bench is 37 feet thick. And the wells in question are targeting both the middle Bakken and the three-fourths first bench.
Okay, no further questions.
Any questions from staff?
One quick question on the last top, the Nisku top. Is that equivalent to our Bird Bear?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Dixon,
Yes,
do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
yes, I do.
Nikki, please state your full name for the record, please.
Nikki Dixon,
And Nikki, by whom are you employed?
at Devon Energy,
In what capacity?
senior reservoir engineer.
And in that capacity, have you had an opportunity to testify before the commission previously?
Yes, I have.
And have you had your qualifications accepted as that of an expert?
Yes.
Offer the further testimony of this witness that of an expert.
Motion granted.
Okay, Nikki, let's turn to the next exhibit in the packet, E1. Identify that exhibit and then briefly discuss what's contained upon it.
Sure. E1 is directional well plot for the proposed 2560 spacing unit. You can see existing Middle Bakken wells and existing Three Forks wells proposed Middle Bakken wells are in blue dashed lines, and proposed Three Forks wells are in orange dashed lines.
Okay, so what you're proposing is two wells on some section line spacing, 25/60s, is that correct?
That's correct.
And you'll keep those two wells within the 500-foot corridor that the commission typically establishes in these sorts of matters, is that correct?
Yes.
All right, let's go to Exhibit E2. Can you tell me what Exhibit E2 is?
Sure. E2 is a wellbore schematic for a typical Middle Bakken well. We fill these with 3 strings of casing with a total depth of just over 20,000 feet measured.
And how many frac stages are you likely to have if this application is granted?
About 40.
All right. Let's go on then to E3. Can you tell us what E3 is?
E3 is very similar to E2. It's a proposed wellbore schematic for a typical Three Forks well. Again, similar estimated total depth, just above 20,000 feet with another 40-stage plug-and-perf completion.
All right, and then E4. Tell us what that is, and then just very briefly discuss what's contained on this exhibit. I don't expect you to go through every line item that's on E4.
Sure. E4, these are reservoir and fluid parameter tables for both the Middle Bakken and the Three Forks. The top table shows the Middle Bakken parameters. The net pay of the Middle Bakken here, like Catherine said, is 51 feet, porosity is 7.4%, and water saturation is 32%. The lower table is a similar table for the first Three Forks, with a net pay of 37 feet, porosity of 6.9%, and water saturation of 37%.
Okay, and when you said first Three Forks, that's shorthand for the first bench of the Three Forks?
That's right.
Okay, let's go to E5.
E5 is an economic summary of a Middle Bakken well. The top table is reservoir type curve parameters. We expect an initial rate out of the Middle Bakken of about 925 barrels per day, with a decline rate just under 77%, a total oil EUR of 476,000 barrels of oil, and a combined EUR of 675 MBOE. The gross economics will run at $70 oil and $3 gas. Gross CapEx is $8.2 million. At 100% working interest and 79% revenue interest, these economics yield a PV10 of $3.95 million and an IRR of 51%.
All right, then let's go to E6.
E6 is similar, but now shown for the Three Forks. Again, expecting an initial rate of 925 barrels of oil per day, a slightly higher decline rate of 79%, an oil EUR of 437,000 barrels of oil, and a combined EUR of 607 MBOE. Economics, once again, are shown at $70 oil and $3 gas, $8.2 million of CapEx, 100% working interest, and 79% revenue interest. That yields a PV10 of $3.58 million and an IRR of 55%.
And Exhibit GM1, is that a gas capture affidavit that the commission typically requires in these sorts of hearings?
Yes.
Nikki, in your opinion, will the requested relief prevent waste, protect relative rights, and prevent the drilling of unnecessary wells?
Yes.
Mr. Examiner, no further questions. Offer the exhibits.
The exhibits are admitted. Any questions from the staff?
Nikki, on E1, can you describe to us where the pad locations are proposed to be at?
So in the 2932, 2833 unit, sorry, let me make sure I'm on the right spot. That pad location is proposed to be actually to the center of the pad of the unit in 2932. So that would be for those two section line wells. And then for 2635, 2536, that would again be sort of in the center of 26 and 35, so we would be going out from there.
What's your anticipated
Get those
spud?
the eastern and western section lines, sorry.
No, sorry. What's your anticipated spud date for the wells?
Right now, the section line in 26, 35, 25, 36 are set to start in November of 2025. Then October of 2025 for the 27, 26, 34, 35 section lines. And the and then 2027 for the remaining two section lines in 29, 32, 28, 33.
Which of those pads would you spud first? Are you starting on the
We would,
far eastern side in the depiction on Exhibit E1, or which location?
yes. Yeah, it would be the far eastern side first.
And then I understand this is a cartoon, but are those, at least looking at it, appears that the Middle Bakken wells are on the lease line and offset by the Three Forks. Are they actually stacked, and you're just depicting them side by side for the purpose of the exhibit?
Yes, that's correct. They would be essentially stacked.
Okay, thank you.
Nikki, with the wells being stacked, would they be drilled right on the section line, or would there be any offset?
The intention would be as close to the section line as possible.
And our copy of E1 that we're showing, you had mentioned that there's existing Three Forks and Middle Bakken wells.
Yes, I'm realizing that the Three Forks wells are not properly colored. I apologize for that. There are Three Forks wells in this unit.
Okay, that's all I wanted to confirm. Thank you.
On the sections 27, 28, 33, and 34, there doesn't appear to be a Three Forks or Bakken proposed wells. Is there a reason why you're not proposing wells in that, on that section line?
Those right now are just further out in our schedule, so we're not proposing them at this time, but we do have, planned locations. They're just further out in time.
Thank you.
Nikki, on Exhibit E1, I just want to go over the pad locations, and is that something you can include on future exhibits?
Yes.
So the 20, 28, 29, 32, 33 says from approximately the midline of the north line of section 29.
That's right.
And likewise, the other two, it's going to be from a common pad near the midpoint of the north line of 26.
Correct.
And I think you answered it, but there are a number of Three Forks wells that have been drilled in this area.
Yes, that's right.
On Exhibit E4 for your reservoir and fluid parameters, for the Middle Bakken, you have a development area size of 2560, and for the Three Forks, you have a development size of 1280. Is that a misprint on the Three
Well,
Forks?
Yes, that's typo. I apologize.
And on your E5 and E6, your internal rate of return, you have 51, you have an NPV of 3951 for the Middle Bakken at a 51% rate of return, and you have a lower NPV for the Three Forks, but a higher rate of return. Can you explain that, how that works to me?
Right now, that's just, we have these economics pulled straight out of our scheduled capital timing, so that's just a slight difference in capital timing where we would, drill one well first. and there would be a longer delay between first capital spend and then, actual production. So really that's just CapEx timing.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, that concludes our hearing for case number 31349. Case number 31350, application of Savannah LLC for an order amending the field rules for the Glass Bluff, Bakken Pool, McKenzie County, North Dakota as follows. 1. Create and establish an overlapping 1920 acre spacing unit comprised of sections 4, 5, and 6, Township 151 North, Range 103 West, authorizing the drilling of a total not to exceed 6 horizontal wells on said proposed overlapping 1920 acre spacing unit. And 2, create and establish an overlapping 3840 acre spacing unit comprised of sections 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, Township 151 North, Range 103 West, authorizing the drilling of a horizontal well on or near the section line between
Okay, guys, I'm going to put you on.
existing spacing units on said proposed overlapping 3840 acre
Can you guys just hang
spacing
on
unit
for a minute?
and or such further relief. All interested parties, please come forward.
Thank you, Mr. Examiner. Sorry for the brief delay. I was trying to get the other witnesses on the phone. Lawrence Bender, P.O. Box 1855, Bismarck, North Dakota, appearing in this case 31350 on behalf of Savannah LLC. And we intend to call 3 witnesses in this matter. Mr. Ogden Coleman will be offering some land testimony. Mr. Troy Graham will be offering some geologic testimony. And Ms. Kelly Hale will be offering some engineering testimony. And these 3 witnesses are on the phone.
Mr. Coleman,
Yes, sir.
do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
Yes, sir.
Ogden, state your full name for the record, please.
John Ogden Coleman.
And Ogden, by whom are you employed?
Employed by Savannah Energy Operating LLC and Savannah LLC,
In what capacity?
senior landman.
And in that capacity, have you testified before the commission previously?
Yes, sir.
And have you had your qualifications accepted as that of an expert?
Yes, sir.
Offer the further testimony of this witness that of an expert.
Motion granted.
Okay, Ogden, let's turn to the first exhibit in the packet. We'll skip the cover page, go to Exhibit L1. Can you identify Exhibit L1 and then briefly discuss what's contained upon it?
Yes, Exhibit L1 is a regional map showing the area of interest in red. The area of interest is in McKenzie County, Township 151 North, Range 103 West, Sections 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9.
And then Exhibit L2, once again identify and briefly discuss what's contained upon it.
Excuse me. Exhibit L2 is the land plat showing our existing 1280 spacing unit in 151, Township 151 North, Range 103 West, consisting of Sections 4 and 9, 5 and 8, and 6 and 7. I also have identified Savannah et al.'s working interest, and in Sections 4 and 9, our working interest is 70.79% working interest, and the 1280 consisting of 5 and 8, Savannah et al. Working interest is 87.5%, and then the 1280 consisting of Sections 6 and 7, Savannah et al. Working interest is 71.4%.
And Exhibit L3.
Exhibit L3 shows our proposed 1920 spacing unit in yellow, consisting of sections 4, 5, and 6. And our Savannah et al. Working interest in those 3 sections is 68.94%. I've also shown what our working interest would be in 7, 8, and 9 below. Savannah et al. Working interest would be 85.73%.
Exhibit L4.
Exhibit L4 is a land plat showing the combined 3840 spacing
and showing that Savannah's et al. For that lease line well would be 76.61% working interest.
No further questions of the land witness.
Any questions from the staff?
Ogden,
Yes, sir.
what's gonna happen to section 7, 8, and 9 if this application is approved?
7, 8, and 9, we will evaluate and most likely come back and re-space it for 3 mile east-west through 7, 8, and 9.
And when would that be?
Well, I think we intend to drill these wells in 4, 5, and 6 in the fall of 25. So I wouldn't think that would be till sometime after that, maybe first quarter 26 or so.
The commission typically has not allowed splitting up of 1280s without a plan to develop the other half.
Other half is already developed, Mr. Bohr.
Yeah, but if they drill a well in 4, 5, and 6, and I get it, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But to keep, for the commission to fit all these spacing units together, I'm not aware of, in a situation like this where we've approved one space unit only over half the 1280s.
Well, I know that the commission has had a policy in the past where it won't allow a overlapping spacing unit and allow that section line well unless there's some sort of development in the other part of the section or other part of the spacing unit. But my understanding of that was it was to prevent a situation where you'd have one well holding large area. That's not the case here because we have 3 spacing units already in existence, and those wells are on 1280s, stand-up 1280s, so those sections are already held. So I don't think we're asking for anything here that we haven't asked for in the past.
I mean, you're correct. I mean, that for the policy the commission has for lease line wells. But to approve this as is without a plan for those other sections would be unusual, if not unprecedented.
I guess I disagree. I think the obligation is probably to the lessors. If they want wells drilled in those 3 sections, in sections 7, 8, and 9, they have every right to make a demand upon the lessees of those lands to drill a wells. It's really not for the commission to force oil companies to drill wells.
It is the commission's duty to protect correlative rights, though.
That's accurate, but if we aren't allowed to drill the section line well, I think that in and of itself might protect relative rights. But once again, that has never been an issue for the commission. But certainly with respect to all the wells on the 1920s, I don't see anything different there than the commission has done many, many times where you may have one 1280, it might be a stand-up, and then next to that 1280, either east or west, you don't have any wells, and the commission isn't forcing companies to take a look at that to determine how that's going to be spaced or developed. That would be forcing a company to drill wells.
Lawrence, real quick, and Commissioner, sir, our thought also was why we weren't doing 7, 8, and 9 now was to leave us the option to potentially do a north-south 3-mile lateral, doing 8, 17, and 20, or the east-west. And, so we were planning to develop those. We just kind of want to see how these east-west goes and leave us the option to either go north-south 3-mile or east-west 3-mile on those sections, if that helps.
Well, not really, because now the commission's left to guess what the spacing pattern is going to be in this area, but we'll take it under advisement.
Just one point of clarification, Ogden. When you are referring to Savannah et al., that means Savannah LLC and its subsidiaries, not other entities?
The way our participation agreement is set up is we have multiple partners that we represent, and so our interest is a part of the whole. So when I say Savannah et al., it is us and the people bound by our participation agreement.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Graham,
Yes.
do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
Yes.
Troy, state your full name for the record, please.
Troy Graham,
And Troy, by whom are you employed?
Savannah Energy LLC,
In what capacity?
geologist.
And in that capacity, have you testified before the commission previously?
Yes.
Had your qualifications accepted as that of an expert?
Yes.
Offer the further testimony of this witness that of an expert.
Motion granted.
Okay, Troy, let's turn to G1, and can you identify Exhibit G1 and briefly discuss what's contained upon it?
Yes. Exhibit G1 is a structure map on the top of the Middle Bakken member. The contour interval is 20 feet. The structure map shows a gentle dip to the east. The yellow acreage indicates Savannah's operating position in the Glass Bluff Bakken pool. Area of interest for the 1920 acre spacing unit covers 4, 5, and 6 of 151 north, 103 west. The area of 3840 acre spacing unit covers 4, 5, 6, as well as 7, 8, and 9 of 151 north, 103 west. The small red box in the southwest portion of the map in section 24 is the location of the nearest vertical well and the type log for this area.
Okay, and G2?
G2 is a type log of the nearest vertical well in the area of interest. It's located in the northeast, southeast of section 24, 151 north, 104 west. The Lad Hart Paulson 2443. It was drilled in April of 1982. It reached total depth of 13,305 in the Red River Formation. The header column, gamma ray and calipers in column 1. Shallow resistivity and deep resistivity is in column 2, and neutron porosity is in column 3. On the right side of the type log, you see the formations described, starting with Upper Bakken Shale, the Middle Bakken member, Lower Bakken Shale, and the first 3 forks through the 4th bench, and then the NISCU at the bottom, which is the same as the Bird Bear. The target interval is depicted by a rectangular box labeled Middle Bakken Target. In this area, 25 foot thick, and the average cross-crop porosity is 8%.
No further questions.
Any questions from the staff?
Troy, this is Nathan. Do you guys have an idea of development for this overall area? I think Mark's concern with correlative rights is real, and I see a path for full development of this area, and it doesn't need to be decided at this time. But section 18, 19, and 16 and 21, are you guys aware of who the operator is in those sections, and any conversation with them at all?
I'm going to pass it on to Ogden to answer that question.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Savannah operates 17 and 20. Murex operates 18, 19, and 16 and 21. We have not discussed this with them at this point, but we have worked with them in the past and done trades and stuff along those lines.
Okay. And typically, there's on operated acreage, there's an understanding of, or a plan out ahead. And do you guys have like a sticks on a map plan for all this yellow on the map on G1? one?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Ms. Hale,
Yes.
do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
Yes, sir.
Kelly, state your full name for the record, please.
Kelly Hale,
And Kelly, by whom are you employed?
Savannah Energy Operating LLC,
In what capacity?
staff drilling engineer.
I'm sorry, what?
Staff drilling engineer.
And in that capacity, have you testified before the commission previously and had your qualifications accepted as that of an expert?
Yes, sir.
For the further testimony, this witness is that of an expert.
Motion granted.
Kelly, let's turn to the next exhibit, Exhibit E1. Can you tell me what that exhibit is and what's contained upon it?
Yes, this is a map showing the way we intend to develop this particular DSU. The red dotted lines are Bakken laterals. The gray lines running to the north there are existing laterals that will be crossing, and then the green line is our setback. And then you can see on the bottom the setback within the corridor for that southern well.
Okay. And Kelly, I'm going to direct your attention to, I believe it's sections 31, or excuse me, 36 and 1. Do you see that on your exhibit up in the north west portion of your exhibit?
36. Yes, yes.
Okay. And how many wells are in that 1,280 acre spacing unit?
7, 8.
And how many wells?
Oh, you,
And how many wells are in section 31 and section 6? One in each? Okay.
Yes.
Do you know if the commission required section 31 and 6 development plans when section 36 and 1 were allowed to drill 7 wells?
I do not.
Let's go on to the next exhibit, Exhibit E2. Can you tell me what E2 is?
E2 is a wellbore diagram of the proposed wells. This particular area would be a 3-string design, a 9 5/8 inch surface casing, 7-inch intermediate, and a 4.5-inch liner hung off at kickoff point. There's a typo on this. This should depict 75 stages for it being a 3-mile. We will be running a wet shoe sub, so we'll be staying 150 foot off that setback.
And Exhibit E3?
E3 is our economics for a Middle Bakken 3-mile lateral in this area. They were run at 67.17 oil price, generating a 2.55 ROI with a payout in 1.49 years.
And is Exhibit E4 a gas capture affidavit that the commission typically requires in these sorts of matters?
Yes, sir, it is.
In your opinion, will the requested relief prevent waste, protect relative rights, and prevent the drilling of unnecessary wells?
Yes, sir.
I have no further questions. Offer the exhibits.
Exhibits are admitted. Any questions from the staff?
With there being existing wells in that DSU, what is your plan for those after you complete them? Are you going to bring them back online, or?
Yes, sir, that is our intention.
Okay, thank you.
Kelly, looking at your exhibit E1. Ogden had mentioned that you have a fall of 2025 spud date. Would you be drilling the north or the south pad first?
We would be drilling the north pad first, most likely.
And then would you be evaluating, or would you drill the south pad right after that?
No, we would drill the south pad right after, and then we would bring frac in to frac those pads back to back as well.
And for your section line well, how far off the section line would that be drilled?
Approximately 50 feet.
To the north?
Yes.
Thank you.
That concludes our hearing for case number 3.
Could I make just a short closing comment,
Sure.
please? Mr. Examiner, I want to point out to the staff that the questions that were raised in this matter, I think starts heading the commission down a totally different path than it's ever headed down before. I can understand perhaps the argument that the section line well shouldn't be drilled here because it's right on the section line, and there would be a number of wells in the spacing unit to the north and only stand-up laterals to the south. So I can understand that argument about a potential correlative rights problem. But to suggest that you can't drill a number of wells on one spacing unit and none on the other is, I think, totally foreign to what this commission has done in the past and inappropriate. And I think it's demonstrated by the exhibit and the testimony that was offered by the witness in terms of what's happening in the section 36 and 1. There's 7 or 8 wells in that spacing unit, and there's only one well to the east in 1280, and also to the east in the other 1280. So just wanted to make that point.
Give the staff a chance to respond if they'd like. Okay. That concludes our hearing for case number 31350.
Thank you.
Case number 31352, application of Continental Resources, Inc. for an order for the Little Knife Bakken Pool and/or Charlie Bob Bakken Pool, Mackenzie County, North Dakota, as follows. 1, create and establish 3 overlapping 19-20 acre spacing units comprised of sections 211 and 14, sections 17, 20, and 29, and sections 21, 28, and 33, Township 145 North, Range 98 West, authorizing the drilling of a total not to exceed 4 horizontal wells on each proposed overlapping 19-20 acre spacing unit. And 2, create and establish 5 19-20 acre spacing units comprised of sections 3, 10, and 15, sections 4, 9, and 16, sections 18, 19, and 30, sections 22, 27, and 34, and sections 23, 26, and 35, Township 145 North, Range 98 West, authorizing the drilling of a total not to exceed 4 horizontal wells on each proposed 19-20 acre spacing unit, and such further relief as appropriate. All interested parties, please come forward.
Lawrence Bender, P.O. Box 1855, Bismarck, North Dakota, appearing in case 31352 on behalf of Continental Resources, Inc. We intend to call 3 witnesses in this matter. Scott Davis will be offering some land testimony. David Nance will be offering some geologic testimony. And Bray Brownrigg will be offering some engineering testimony. Those 3 witnesses should be calling in here in a moment or two. Can you connect me to Lynn?
Sure, hold on, please.
Hey, Lance Lawrence. Continental's not calling in, and I called Melanie, and there's no answer. Well, we're waiting. Shows what? Well, you mean on the audio? You can still, oh, okay. So that's a little bit, yeah. Well, I called Melanie, and for some reason she didn't answer. Thanks. There must be some sort of delay in the discussions because I could hear you talking in the background yet.
Huh.
So Susan, they're going to call in as soon as that ends. I'm not sure why that's happening.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. Well, why don't we take a 10-minute break now then?
Okay, sounds good.
We're off the record. Okay, we're back on the record. I think I'm ready to swear in your first witness, Lawrence.
Okay, I think I indicated who they were. Scott Davis will be my first witness.
Okay, Mr. Davis,
Yes, sir.
do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
I do.
Scott, state your full name for the record, please.
Scott Davis,
And Scott, by whom are you employed?
Continental Resources is a layman in the Williston Basin.
And in that capacity, have you testified before the commission previously?
Yes, sir.
Have you had your qualifications accepted as that of an expert?
Yes, sir.
For the further testimony of this witness, that of an expert.
Motion granted.
Scott, let's turn to the packet of exhibits for 31352. Let's turn to what's been previously marked as L1. Can you briefly describe and discuss what's contained on Exhibit L1?
Yes, L1 is a general locator map. The existing fields are outlined in blue, and then the 8 proposed 19-20 acre spacing units are outlined in red, purple, pink, black, blue, brown, orange, and green, and then shaded in yellow.
All right, then let's go to Exhibit L2.
L2 is a land plat of an existing 1,280 acre spacing unit comprised of sections 2 and 11 of Township 145 North, Range 98 West, along with the working interest ownership summary for those 2 sections. Continental owns approximately 98% in that 1,280 acre spacing unit.
And L3.
L3 is a land plat of section 14, 145 North, 98 West, along with a working interest ownership summary for that section. Continental owns approximately 81% working interest in this section.
And L4.
L4 is a land plat for the proposed 19-20 acre spacing unit comprised of sections 2, 11, and 14 of 145 North, 98 West, along with the consolidated working interest ownership summary for that proposed 19-20 acre spacing unit. Continental own approximately 93% working interest in that proposed 19-20.
Okay, and L5.
L5 is a land plat of section 17, 145 North, 98 West, along with the working interest ownership summary for that section. Continental does not own a working interest in this section.
L6.
L6 is a land plat of an existing 1,280 acre spacing unit comprised of sections 20 and 29 of 145 North, 98 West, along with the working interest ownership summary for those sections. Continental owns 100% working interest in this 1280.
L7.
L7 is a land plat for the proposed 19-20 acre spacing unit comprised of sections 17, 20, and 29 of 145 North, 98 West, along with the the consolidated working interest ownership summary for that proposed 19-20. Continental own approximately 67% working interest in this proposed 19-20.
And L8.
L8 is a land plat of section 21, 145 North, 98 West, along with the working interest ownership summary for that section. Continental owns 100% of this section.
L9.
L9 is a land plat of an existing 1,280 acre spacing unit comprised of sections 28 and 33, 145 North, 98 West, along with the working interest ownership summary for those sections. Continental owns approximately 94% in this 1280.
L10.
L10 is a land plat for the proposed 19-20 acre spacing unit comprised of sections 21, 28, and 33 of 145 North, 98 West, along with the consolidated working interest ownership summary for the proposed 19-20. Continental own approximately 96% in the proposed 19-20.
And L11.
L11 is the land plat of section 3, 145 north, 98 west, along with the working interest ownership summary for that section. Continental owns 100% of this section.
L12.
L12 is the land plat of section 10, 145 north, 98 west, along with the working interest ownership summary for that section. Continental owns approximately 50% working interest in this section.
L13.
L13 is the land plat of section 15, 145 north, 98 west, along with the working interest ownership summary for that section. Continental does not own a working interest in section 15.
L14.
L14 is the land plat for the proposed 1920 acre spacing unit comprised of sections 3, 10, and 15 of 145 north, 98 west, along with the consolidated working interest ownership summary for the proposed 1920. Continental will own approximately 50% in this proposed 1920.
L15.
L15 is the land plat of section 4, 145 north, 98 west, along with the working interest ownership summary for that section. Continental owns approximately 50% working interest in this section.
L16.
L16 is the land plat of section 9, 145 north, 98 west, along with the working interest ownership summary for that section. Continental owns 100% of section 9.
L17.
L17 is a land plat of section 16, 145 north, 98 west, along with the working interest ownership summary for that section. Continental does not own a working interest in section 16.
L18.
L18 is the land plat for the proposed 1920 acre spacing unit comprised of sections 4, 9, and 16, 145 north, 98 west, along with the consolidated working interest ownership summary for the proposed 1920. Continental will own approximately 50% working interest in this proposed 1920.
L19.
L19 is the land plat of section 18, 145 north, 98 west, along with the working interest ownership summary for that section. Continental owns approximately 37% working interest.
L20.
L20 is the land plat of section 19, 145 north, 98 west, along with the working interest ownership summary for section 19. Continental owns approximately 99%.
L21.
L21 is a land plat of section 30, 145 north, 98 west, along with the working interest ownership summary for that section. Continental does not own a working interest in this section.
L22.
L22 is a land plat of the proposed 1920 acre spacing unit comprised of sections 18, 19, and 30, 145 north, 98 west, along with the consolidated working interest ownership summary for this proposed 1920. Continental will own approximately 45% working interest.
L23.
L23 is a land plat of section 22, 145 north, 98 west, along with the working interest ownership summary for that section. Continental does not own a working interest in section 22.
L24.
L24 is the land plat of section 27, 145 north, 98 west, along with the working interest ownership summary for that section. Continental owns approximately 75% of section 27.
L25.
L25 is the land plat of section 34, 145 north, 98 west, along with the working interest ownership summary for that section. Continental owns approximately 1% working interest in this section.
L26.
L26 is the land plat for this proposed 1920 acre spacing unit comprised of sections 22, 27, and 34 of 145 north, 98 west, along with the consolidated working interest ownership summary for this proposed 1920. Continental own approximately 25% in this proposed 1920.
L27.
L27 is a land plot of section 27, 145 north, 98 west, along with the working interest ownership summary for that section. Continental owns 100% working interest in this section.
L28.
L28 is a land plot of section 26, 145 north, 98 west, along with the working interest ownership summary for that section. Continental owns approximately 27% working interest in this section.
L29.
L29 is a land plot of section 35, 145 north, 98 west, along with the working interest ownership summary for that section. Continental does not own a working interest in section 35.
And L30.
L30 is a land plat for this proposed 1920 acre spacing unit comprised of sections 23, 26, and 35, 145 north, 98 west, along with the working interest ownership, consolidated working interest ownership summary for this proposed 1920. Continental will own approximately 42% working interest in this proposed 1920.
And Scott, in those situations where Continental Resources owns less than a majority interest in the proposed 1920s, will Continental have discussions with other working interest owners to determine who should be the operator of the wells in the proposed 1920?
Yes, sir, we will.
Okay. That's all the questions I have for the land witness. I offer my apologies that it was lengthy testimony, but we thought it was necessary to get in the information on the spacing units.
No problem. Any questions from the staff?
Scott, on the exhibits where you have BLM unleased, what is the likelihood of getting those tracts leased?
I mean, likelihood, we will nominate those to get those leased, and we will try to get those on a sale. I can't speak to when they would appear on the sale, though.
But you have no information that it would be difficult to lease those?
No, sir, I do not have any information that it would be difficult.
And of the 8 proposed spacing units that you have 6 that the commission would term as being on pattern. You have the 2 to the west that are off pattern. What's the reason for the difference?
Before you answer that, Scott, would it be helpful if you were to turn to Exhibit E11?
Yes, sir. I think that would be beneficial at this time.
Just give him a moment here till everybody gets to E11. Okay, you can proceed.
So Exhibit E11 here is showing we have the current spacing units as they are now depicted in the dashed black line. And then in the blue shaded areas, with the exception of the northern one, the 8 and the southern are part of this application that we are hearing today for these 8 proposed 1920s. The blue one to the north is part of a separate case, which we continued. So this is, and then the red spacing units are how we envisioned would be the optimal way to set a pattern and fill in the rest of this area.
So the ones you have in orange, I'll work from the bottom up. So 25 and 36 are currently at 1280, it looks like, and 31 and 32 are currently at 1280.
Yes, sir.
On the left side, 31, 6, and 7, and 32, 5, and 8, those have not been applied for?
Those have not been applied for. No, sir, not yet, but this is, we felt like this was important to kind of show not only what we are doing with these 8 applications here, but also with this whole area, how how we think this kind of sets the pattern, and we can continue to, whether it's us as the filing the application or another operator, but fill in and set a pattern across these townships.
Yeah, I agree. We appreciate this type of exhibit. So those two, 31.6 and 7 and 32.5 and 8, those, well, let's just start with 31.6 and 7. Is that an application Continental would bring, or that's something you think somebody else might bring?
We could bring it. I can't give you a guarantee at the time.
Okay. And then 32, 5 and 8, and 17, 20 and 29. Is Continental involved in the different spacing proposals that have been proposed for those sections?
You talking about the Phoenix application?
Yeah, I think, yeah, because case 31, 350.
I don't know that I follow.
Pardon?
We didn't hear what you said, Scott.
I didn't know that I followed the question. Is it for which different spacing applications are you referring to?
So 17, 20, and 29, that is a Continental application that has been continued, correct?
Okay, so I apologize. I was looking to the south. Yes, so you're referring to the one in the north. Yes, sir. That is one that has been continued.
And there's another proposal that is competing with Continentals, and that's the reason that was continued?
Yes, sir.
But either way, whatever is decided in that outcome will not affect the pattern you have depicted in this case, is that right?
That is correct. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Nance,
Sir.
do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
I do.
David, would you state your full name for the record, please?
David Nance,
And David, by whom are you employed?
Human Resources,
In what capacity?
Operations Geologist.
And in that capacity, have you testified before the commission previously?
Yes, I have.
Had your qualifications accepted as that of an expert?
Yes, it was.
Offer the further testimony of this witness that of an expert.
Motion granted.
David, can you identify Exhibit G1 and very briefly discuss what's contained upon it?
Sure. Exhibit G1 is a general locator map showing our requested spacing unit highlighted in yellow and outlined in red. There are 50-foot contours of the upper Bakken surface displayed. The type log for the area is indicated by the red star there.
Okay, let's go to G2. Once again, identify and briefly discuss.
Yes, the Exhibit G2 is the type log for the area. It displays the log unit for each pool through the Bakken, Three Forks, and Bird Bear. And we expect uniform thickness, density, and porosity in the area.
No further questions.
Any questions from the staff? Mr. Brownrigg,
Yes.
do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
I do.
Bray, state your name for the record.
Ray Brownrigg,
And Bray, by whom are you employed?
Continental Resources.
In what capacity?
The senior engineer for resource development.
And in that capacity, have you testified before the commission previously and had your qualifications accepted as that of an expert?
Yes.
Offer the further testimony of this witness that of an expert.
Motion granted.
Okay, Bray, let's move to Exhibit E1, identify and very quickly discuss what's contained upon it.
Exhibit E1 shows our proposed directional well plot, 1920 acre spacing unit for sections 2, 11, and 14 of 145 North, range 98 West. The solid pink line shows an existing 3-fork-1 lateral, and the dashed green lines show our proposed Middle Bakken laterals for 4 proposed Middle Bakken wells.
Okay, Exhibit E2.
Exhibit E2 shows the same well plot, but for sections 17, 20, and 29, 145, 98. And the solid green lines show existing Middle Bakken lateral, and the green dash line showing our proposed well.
E3.
E3 is our 1920 acre spacing unit for sections 21, 28, and 33 of 145 North, 98 West, showing pink line of the existing Three Forks 1 well and the green dash lines of our proposed Middle Bakken well.
E4.
E4 is the 1920 acre spacing unit for sections 3, 10, and 15 of 145 North, 98 West, green dash line showing our proposed well.
E5.
E5 is for 1920 acre spacing unit, sections 4, 9, and 16, 145 North, 98 West, with the green dash line showing our proposed well.
E6.
E6 shows the 1920 acre spacing unit for sections 18, 19, and 30 for 145 North, 98 West, green dash line showing our proposed Middle Bakken well.
E7.
E7 is the 1920 acre spacing unit for sections 22, 27, and 34 of 145 North, 98 West, green dash line showing our proposed Middle Bakken well.
And E8.
And E8 is the 1920 acre spacing unit for sections 23, 26, and 35 of 145 North, 98 West, green dash line showing our proposed Middle Bakken well.
Okay, let's continue on to E9. Tell us what that is.
E9 shows our typical Middle Bakken well construction diagram for a 1920 acre spacing unit. This shows the casing design and cement design. The well measured depth estimates for these will be at 25,000 feet, and the dimensioned lateral will have around 50 plug and perf stages.
E10.
Exhibit E10 shows the reserves basis, gross economic, and reservoir parameters for a single well in these areas that we're proposing.
And E11 is the exhibit that Scott discussed that shows the layout of your proposed spacing units as well as others in the area. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And Exhibit GM1, is that a gas capture affidavit that the commission typically requires in these sorts of matters?
Yes.
In your opinion, will the requested relief prevent waste, protect relative rights, and prevent the drilling of unnecessary wells?
Yes.
No further questions. Offer the exhibits.
Exhibits are admitted. Any questions from the staff?
Ray, looking at your exhibit E2 IB.
Yes.
What are your plans for that existing well?
That existing well was drilled with a development plan that we termed a bat wing. I believe it's open hole, and so we plan to just drill through the Middle Bakken formation, not really trying to avoid them, but I guess just trying not to hit it. Yeah, that's generally how we handle these older batwing style wells.
Would you plan on continuing to produce it?
If it produces in paying quantities, I'm sure we would try to produce it. But we kind of just see how it goes. Is my general understanding.
Realizing this might be difficult to speak to with some of these spacing units with unleased minerals, what is your development plan timeline look like for this area?
Development timeline for this area is changing. We're talking about budgeting and things like that over the next few years. Right now, these are on our drill schedule for 2030 and 2031. So further out in the future, but this area is gaining interest for us. So there's potential for us to accelerate.
And with that timeline being that far out, surface locations haven't been considered yet?
That's correct.
And when you do go into this area, would you be batch drilling?
Yes. So typically we would try to drill multi-well paths from a multi-well path.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Bray, looking at, I just want to get a sense of where we're at here. So looking at Exhibit E11, there are two 1280s, 25 and 36 and 31 and 32. And Scott can jump in if he wants to, but are those space units that would be developed by Continental?
I'm sorry, could you say the sections one more time?
On the south end, 25 and 36 on the right, and 31 and 32 on the left.
Yes.
So those would be developed by.
And what about them?
Would those?
Oh, I'm not sure. We don't have those on our current plans, but that's not that we would be open to developing those as well.
I guess, in short, do you have an interest in those space units?
I do not believe that we do.
Okay. And then Bray, if.
I don't have that in front of me right now, but.
Okay. And Bray, you've shown us the economics for a 3-mile well. Would 2-mile wells still be economic in this area?
Yes, I believe so. It's just, we think we like the 3-mile development in this area.
Yeah, understood. But if land was needed to be developed on 2-mile wells, it would still be economic?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
That concludes our hearing for case number 31352. Case number 31353, application of Continental Resources, Inc. for an order for the Ranch Creek Bakken Pool, McKenzie County, North Dakota, to create and establish an overlapping 19-20-acre spacing unit comprised of sections 17, 20, and 29, Township 146 North, Range 98 West, authorizing the drilling of a total not to exceed 4 horizontal wells on said proposed overlapping 19-20-acre spacing unit, and such further relief as appropriate. This case has been continued to our December hearings. That concludes our hearing for case number 31353. Case number 31354, application of Continental Resources, Inc. for an order amending the field rules for the Sanish Bakken Pool, McKenzie, and Montreal Counties, North Dakota, to create and establish an overlapping 38-40 acre spacing unit comprised of sections 8, 9, 10, 15, 16, and 17, Township 153 North, Range 93 West, authorizing the drilling of a horizontal well on or near the section line between existing spacing units of said proposed overlapping 38-40 acre spacing unit and such other relief. All interested parties, please come forward.
Thank you, Mr. Examiner. Lawrence Bender, P.O. Box 1855, Bismarck, appearing this matter on behalf of Continental Resources, Inc. Plan on calling 3 witnesses. Land, Amanda Arns, Geology, David Nance, and Engineering, Mike Blake.
Ms. Arns,
Yes,
do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
I do.
Amanda, can you identify, Amanda, by whom are you employed?
Continental Resources,
What capacity?
A landman.
And in that capacity, have you testified before the commission previously and had your qualifications accepted as that of an expert?
I have.
Offer the further testimony of this witness that of an expert.
Motion granted.
Okay, Amanda, L1, can you tell us what that is?
Yes, Exhibit L1 is a general locator map showing Continental proposed 3840 acre spacing unit outlined in red and shaded in yellow. This hearing is for the purpose of drilling a well on or near the section line.
L2?
Exhibit L2 is a land plat of Section 8 of 153 North, 93 West. Along with a working interest summary of this section, Continental owns a 17.28% working interest in the section.
And L3?
Exhibit L3 is a land plat of Section 9, 153 North, 93 West. Continental does not own a working interest in this section.
L4?
Exhibit L4 is a land plat showing Section 10 of 153 North, Range 93 West. Continental does not own a working interest in this section either.
L5?
Exhibit L5 is a land plat of the east half of the east half and the east half of the west half of the northeast quarter and the east half of the west half of the southeast quarter of Section 15, 153 North, 93 West. Continental owns a 62.25% working interest in the 24 acres depicted in L5.
L6?
Exhibit L6 is a land plat of an existing 1680 acre spacing unit comprised of the west half and the west half of the east half of Section 15 and all of 16 and 17 of 153 North and 93 West. Continental owns 85.76% in this existing spacing unit.
And because Continental Resources owns less than a majority interest, will Continental have discussions with other working interest owners to determine who should be the operator?
Yes.
No further questions?
Any questions from the staff?
I might have been distracted. Did we cover L7?
Oh, did I skip one? I apologize.
Yeah, I think you may have skipped one, Lawrence.
We skipped L6, right?
Yeah.
I went over L6, but I think we need to still go over L7.
Okay, go ahead.
L7 is a land plat of the proposed 3840 acre spacing unit comprised of sections 8, 9, 10, 15, 16, and 17 of 153 North, 93 West. Continental owns a 44.29% working interest in the proposed spacing unit.
Okay, thank you. And I apologize, I'm still trying to recover from all the testimony Scott gave, so.
Okay, Mr. Nance is still under oath, so you can proceed.
Pardon me?
Mr. Nance is still under oath, so you can
Yes,
proceed.
okay. David, let's go to Exhibit G1.
Yes. Exhibit G1 is a general locator map showing our requested spacing unit highlighted in yellow and outlined in red. 50-foot contours at the top of the Bakken are displayed. The type log for the area is indicated by the red star.
Okay, and then G2.
G2 is a type log for the area. It displays the Sanishfield log, and we expect uniform thickness, density, and porosity in this area.
No further questions.
Any questions from the staff? Mr. Blake,
Yes, sir.
do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
I do.
Mike, state your name for the record, please.
Michael Blake,
And Mike, by whom are you employed?
Continental Resources.
In what capacity?
Resource Development Engineer for the Williston Basin.
And in that capacity, have you testified before the commission previously?
I have.
Had your qualifications accepted as that of an expert?
Yes, sir.
I'll offer the further testimony of this witness that of an expert.
Motion granted.
Okay, Mike, let's go to Exhibit E1. Identify Exhibit E1 and briefly discuss what's contained upon it.
Yeah, so this is the proposed directional well plot showing the 3840 acre spacing unit. And you can see the request for the section line well dashed. It's a 3 mile section line well dashed horizontally there, kind of cut through the center of the page. The solid lines portrayed there are existing wells within those sections, and we feel that in order, you could see if that dashed middle Bakken line there cutting through was not there, there would be quite a void. And so we feel to maximize the recovery and benefit all interest owners, that putting that well there will allow us to drill that well and get those resources which would otherwise be stranded.
And E2.
Yeah, so this is our typical Middle Bakken well construction diagram for a 3 mile well. See, we have we've set it up with 9 5/8 surface casing, followed by 7-inch casing, production string there, and then a 4.5-inch cemented liner going to an estimated depth of 25,000 feet there for this 3 mile well. 7-inch casing set, give or take around 10,000, and this would be completed with plus or minus 50 plug-and perf stages.
And E3.
Yeah, so from an economic standpoint, this is a really healthy area in the basin. We'd expect this to come on initial rate of 1,400 barrels of oil a day. From a EUR perspective, we would expect to capture 625,000 barrels of oil, and then 2.39 billion of gas. From an gross economic perspective, running at a flat oil price of 60 and 3 with a drilling cost of 8.5 million. You can see the associated operating cost there of 10,000 a month. And again, working interest of 100%, capturing a value of 7.6 million and paying out within 1.2 years there.
Okay, and Exhibit GM1, is that a gas capture affidavit that the commission typically requires in these sorts of matters?
Yes.
And in your opinion, will the requested relief prevent waste, protect relative rights, and prevent the drilling of unnecessary wells?
Yes.
No further questions. Offer the exhibits.
Exhibits are admitted. Any questions from the staff?
Mike, on Exhibit E1, is the pad location, it's cut off here, I'm just curious, is that on an existed pad, or are you going to be doing a new build?
This would end up being a new build. We typically, of course, as much as possible, like to put as many wells as possible on a single pad for the efficiencies that can create in minimizing the footprint. But for this particular section line well, we would end up having to do a single pad there.
What's Continental's anticipated spud date?
So the rest of this development, you can see the kind of the white space there in the section 17, 16, and 15. We are planning to spud those wells June of next year, and so if possible, if we can get this through and permitted, we would like to align timing pretty close to that. So next year sometime.
Is that lease line well anticipated to be drilled on the lease line, or are you going to offset it to the north or south?
I think actually on the lease line is a pretty healthy amount of spacing as far as our from our existing wells there to the south, and then an appropriate distance from those toes and heel to the north. So I think looking at right on the section line.
Yeah, thank you.
Mike, where's that new pad going to be located?
So if we're looking at E1 here, you can see it would end up being to the northeast side of section 15, kind of where there's the existing pads for the laydown unit that's going east-west, all those wells there. It would just be a little bit north of that.
So it would still be in section 15.
Correct.
Thank you.
Mike, is this lease line well gonna be drilled on the same pad you would develop the south half of that laydown 1680?
No, it was something that we discussed with the drilling and the production team, but based on where that pad would be and the amount that we would have to kick out to get to drilling the lateral, there's like kind of doing a pros cons. Like our drilling and our production teams don't feel like that would set us up for long-term success, even though there's a little bit of incremental cost with having it being its own single pad there. We feel like that's the right thing to do for the long-term benefit of the well and operational risk.
On Exhibit E3, your gas oil ratio,
Yes.
is that correct? 3.8 standard cubic feet?
Yeah, yes. I mean, this area is a pretty high. Okay. It should be. Sorry, it should actually be 3,800.
So that's MMCF.
Yeah. My apologies on that. And a lot of other situations are filling this information out. We have it in millions there, and so I'm kind of used to doing the the decimal place like that. But for the standard cubic feet a barrel, in this case, it would be 3,800. Thank you for catching that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, that concludes our hearing for case number 31354. Case number 31355, application of Continental Resources, Inc. for an order amending the field rules for the East Bakken Pool, Williams County, North Dakota, to create and establish an overlapping 2560-acre spacing unit comprised of sections 1 and 12, Township 156 North, Range 100 West, and sections 6 and 7, Township 156 North, Range 99 West. Authorizing the drilling of a horizontal well on or near the section line between existing spacing units of said proposed overlapping 2560-acre spacing unit and such other relief. All interested parties, please come forward.
Lawrence Bender, P.O. Box 1855, Bismarck, appearing this matter, case number 31355 on behalf of Continental Resources, Inc. We'll have 3 witnesses in this matter.
Ms. Cherry.
No, you're in, that's Hunt. You're still in
Sorry.
Continental.
Mr. Isali.
Yes, sir.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
I do.
Yusuf, would you state your full name for the record, please?
I will. Yusuf E. Staley,
And Yusuf, by whom are you employed?
Continental Resources,
In what capacity?
as a landman for the Williston Basin.
And in that capacity, have you testified before the commission previously?
I have not.
What I'd like you to do, Yusuf, is briefly highlight for the examiner and the commission staff your educational background and work experience.
I will. Thank you. I am a December 2009 graduate from the University of Oklahoma with 2 business degrees, the first being in energy management and the other being a minor in finance. As of March of 2020, I've been certified as a certified professional landman from AAPL. I've been an in-house landman at Continental Resources since November of 2021, and previously an in-house landman at a company named SM Energy, where I was employed in the land department in November of 2013.
And in preparation for today's hearing, have you made a thorough study and review of all the relevant land matters concerning Continental's request in case 31355?
I have, and they're prepared under my control and supervision.
Okay. Would offer the further testimony of this witness that of an expert.
Motion granted.
Okay, Yusuf, let's go to the the packet of exhibits for 31355. Let's turn to Exhibit L1. Identify L1 and briefly discuss what's contained upon it.
Yes, L1 is a general locator map, highlighted with a red box around 4 sections, being sections 1 and 12 and 156 North, 100 West. And on the east side, 2 sections being 6 and 7 and 156, 99 West. Those 4 sections comprise and make up our 2560 spacing unit.
Okay, L2.
L2 is going to be the 2 sections on the west side of our 2560 spacing, being sections 1 and 12, 156 North, 100 West. On the top right-hand corner, you can see the working interest broken out, with Continental being having a 69.30% working interest.
And L3.
L3 is another land plat making up the east side of the proposed 2560 spacing, covering sections 6 and 7 of 156 North, 99 West. Working interest broken out again, showing Continental with a roughly an 86.80 working interest.
L4.
L4 is the 2560 proposed spacing unit, covering those 4 sections, reflecting Continental and this proposed 2560 having a 78.13% working interest.
No further questions.
Any questions from the staff? Mr. Nance is still under oath, so you can proceed.
David, G1.
Exhibit G1 is a general locator map showing our requested spacing unit. It has 50-foot contours of the upper Bakken surface displayed. The type log for the area is indicated by the red star.
G2.
G2 is the type log for the area. It displays the log for the East Fork field. And we expect uniform thickness and density and porosity in this area.
Okay, and the, I think if you have the target zone as the Middle Bakken, correct?
Target zone is the Middle Bakken.
Okay, no further questions.
Any questions from the staff? Mr. Brownrick still under oath,
Yep.
so you can proceed.
Bray, E1.
Yes, E1 is our proposed directional well plot of the 2560 acre spacing unit for sections 1 and 2 of 156 North, 100 West, and sections 6 and 7 of 156 North, 99 West. The solid green lines show existing Middle Bakken wells. The solid pink line is an existing Three Forks 1 well, and the dashed green line in the middle is our proposed Middle Bakken lateral.
E2.
E2 shows the typical well construction diagram for a Middle Bakken well. This is for the 1280 acre spacing unit. Shows the casing design and cementing design. This lateral estimated measured depth is 21,000 feet. It'll be a cemented lateral with around 45 plug and perf stages.
E3.
Exhibit E3 shows our reserves basis and forecast, gross economic, and reservoir parameters for this single 2-mile well.
Can you briefly discuss some of the things that are contained on E3? Maybe touch on the reserves and the economics?
Yes. So, again, this is a Middle Bakken well. The initial IP rate of 1,500 barrels of oil per day. The decline is 85%. GOR is 1,100 SCF per barrel. The gross economics are run at flat $60 oil and $3 gas price. And we expect the drilling cost to be around $8.4 million. And then the rate of return we expect to be 46% with a payout of 2.4 years.
Okay.
And lastly, the reservoir parameters are similar to that
shown on G2.
And Exhibit GM1, is that a gas capture affidavit that the commission typically requires in these sorts of matters?
Yes.
In your opinion, will the requested relief prevent waste, protect relative rights, and prevent the drilling of unnecessary wells?
Yes.
No further questions. Offer the exhibits.
Exhibits are admitted. Any questions from the staff?
Brady, on Exhibit E1, where's the pad anticipated to be located?
So I believe we're going to drill this from a multi-well pad. In I'm not sure which section it will be in, but it'll be timed in conjunction with the development of the other in-unit well.
What's your anticipated spud date?
The 2025. So next year.
Is the lease line well going to be drilled on the lease line, or is it going to be offset?
Plan is to drill it on the lease line.
Okay, thank you.
Bray, in the past, Continental has often included the surface locations for these proposed wells. Do you know why they're not being included anymore?
I don't know. We can get back to including those going forward, if you like.
Yeah, if you would, please. It just helps us evaluate, the drilling of the well, and if there are any surface owners that have concerns, they at least have an idea. And we understand that these are tentative; they could change, but it just what your current best guess is fine. Okay, thank you.
So, Mr. Boer, you perhaps include that on Exhibit E1, just do a supplemental E1? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and like I said, Continental had been doing it in the past, and I don't know if it just got overlooked or what the reason was, but it does help.
Okay. And you shared with me, I believe, the last hearing about a default date, but I can't remember. Was it 1 week or 2 weeks?
The following Thursday is what we'd
Following
like, but
Thursday.
that's gonna be Thanksgiving,
Okay.
so I think yesterday we picked a Monday after that.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Okay. The record will remain open till the Monday after Thanksgiving. Do you know what the date that is, Lawrence?
December,
December 2nd.
yep.
And that concludes our hearing for case number. Oh, sure, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Wait,
They're gone.
Oh, shoot. Well,
What is it? I can have it submitted as a,
I just had a question. They have 45 plug-in perf planned for these 2-mile laterals,
I
but they
think
have,
they might be calling in here.
okay. I'll hold.
This is Continental?
Hi, this is Chelsea the client.
Okay, just a moment.
Okay.
What is it you need?
So this question is for Bray. On Exhibit E2, I noticed you have 45 planned perfs, and on this 2-mile lateral, I noticed on previous orders that you were having about 50 on a 3-mile lateral. Is there a reason? Is it geology? Is there another reason that your perf density is increasing on these 2-mile laterals?
I'll get an answer for you and respond at the same time that we submit the supplemental exhibit.
That'd be fine.
Okay, that concludes our hearing for case number 31355. Case number 31356, application of Hunt Oil Company for an order for the Bluffton Bakken Pool, Divide County, North Dakota, to create and establish 2 overlapping 1920 acre spacing units comprised of sections 22, 27, and 34, and sections 23, 26, and 35, Township 162 North, Range 97 West, authorizing the drilling of a total not to exceed 4 wells on each proposed overlapping 1920 acre spacing unit, and such further relief as appropriate. All interested parties, please come forward.
Thank you, Mr. Examiner. Lawrence Bender, P.O. Box 1855, Bismarck, appearing in this matter on behalf of Hunt Oil Company. We intend to call 3 witnesses, Chelsea Cherry, Joe Bauman, and Zach Goff, in land, geology, and engineering, respectively.
Ms. Cherry,
Yes,
do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
I do.
Chelsea, state your full name for the record, please.
Chelsea Cherry,
And Chelsea, by whom are you employed?
Hunt Oil Company,
In what capacity?
landman.
And in that capacity, have you testified before the commission previously?
Yes, I have.
Had your qualifications accepted as that of an expert?
Yes.
For the further testimony of this witness, that of an expert.
Motion granted.
Chelsea, let's go to Exhibit 1. Tell us what that is.
It's a regional location map of the Bluffton Bakken Pool.
And Exhibit 2?
Exhibit 2 shows our existing 1280s and the proposed overlapping 1920s with our working interest of 59% in sections 22, 27, and 34, and 66% in sections 23, 26, and 35.
No further questions.
Any questions from the staff?
Lawrence, is there gonna be another exhibit that it tells me what's gonna happen to section 14?
Yeah, I think the engineering witness will cover that. Is that correct, Chelsea?
I can cover it.
Okay, go ahead.
So for section 14, we have discussed with the majority leasehold owner there, and they do agree that 1920s makes sense in the area, and they also own in sections 2 and 11, as well as 23. So they are aware of our plans on 1920s and agree that 1920s makes sense for this area.
So does that then mean that sections 2, 11, and 14 would likely be developed as a 1920?
I will leave that to that party, but that is my understanding that that is how they would like to develop it.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Bauman,
Yes.
do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
Yes.
Joe, state your full name for the record, please.
Joe Bauman,
And Joe, by whom are you employed?
Hunt Oil Company,
In what capacity?
geologist.
And in that capacity, you've testified before the commission previously?
I have.
Had your qualifications accepted as that of an expert?
Yes.
For the further testimony of this witness, that of an expert.
Motion granted.
Joe, let's turn to the next exhibit in the packet, Exhibit 3. Can you tell us what that is?
Exhibit 3 is a structure map on top of the Bakken Formation over the Bluffton Field area. The contours are 50 foot subsea intervals here. The proposed units of interest are in the red shading. Hunt operated units are outlined in black. The type log for the area is indicated by the red circle, and Middle Bakken wells are indicated. Existing Middle Bakken wells are indicated by the blue laterals. Existing Three Forks laterals are indicated by the red.
Okay, Exhibit 4.
Exhibit 4 is a type log for as previously indicated in Exhibit 3. In Track 1, we have gamma ray. Track 2 are porosity logs. Track 3 are resistivity. The top and base of the Bakken spool are indicated by the thick dash lines, which are 50 feet above the top of the Bakken, down to 50 feet below the top of the Three Forks Formation. The upper and lower shales are indicated by the gray shading, and our reservoir intervals are indicated by the yellow shading.
No further questions.
Any questions from the staff? Mr. Goff,
Yes, sir.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give in this matter be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
I do.
Zach, state your full name for the record.
Zachary Goff,
And Zach, by whom are you employed?
Hunt Oil Company,
What capacity?
the reservoir engineer.
And in that capacity, have you testified before the commission previously?
I have.
Had your qualifications accepted as that of an expert?
Yes.
Offer the further testimony of this witness that of an expert.
Motion granted.
Zach, let's go to Exhibit 5 in the packet. Tell us what that is and briefly discuss what's contained upon it.
Yes. This is a map showing the proposed development for the proposed overlapping 1920-acre units here. The units are in the dashed red line, the proposed units, and the proposed development at spacing is in the solid red line. Those are the proposed drill wells. The existing HOC operated units are in the dark black line, and the existing operated wells are in black lines with circles where their surface hole locations are.
And Exhibit 6.
Yes, Exhibit 6 is a schematic of our typical Middle Bakken well that we drill here. Notably, 7-inch casing with a 4.5-inch liner, plug-and-perk completion.
Exhibit 7.
Yeah, so Exhibit 7 are estimated reservoir properties, reserves, and economics for the Bluffton Bakken Pool for a 15,000-foot lateral here. Notably, you see that it's 8,500 feet TVD with original oil in place, about 21 million barrels, estimated recoverable oil about 544,000 barrels with a recovery factor of about 2.5%. I'd point you to the economics here that are run on 100% working interest, 80% NRI, about $11 million investment with a PV10 of $3.5 million or a rate of return of 26%. Is run on flat $70 oil and $2.50 an M pricing with marketing differentials on top of that.
And Exhibit 8, is that a gas capture affidavit that the commission typically requires in these sorts of matters?
Yes, it is.
In your opinion, will the requested relief prevent waste, protect relative rights, and prevent the drilling of unnecessary wells?
Yes, it will.
No further questions. Offer the exhibits.
Exhibits are admitted. Any questions from the staff?
Zach, on your Exhibit 5, does Hunt have a planned surface location?
We're currently evaluating potential surface locations here, but the preferred development would utilize existing locations and a batch drilling methodology. From a surface perspective, we have multiple options here to do such a development.
What's the anticipated spud date for both of those spacing units?
We're currently working over our drill schedule, but no earlier than Q3 of 2025.
Which one of the spacing units is intended to be drilled first?
That would be currently that would be the spacing unit covering sections 22, 27, and 34.
Would it be anticipated to be evaluated before you drill the other space unit, or would Hunt directly move to the next space unit and drill those wells as well?
Correct. We would drill that space unit first in a manner that we've done with other 15,000 footers in Clyde County, and then move forward with additional development.
Okay, thank you.
Zach, did I understand your testimony correctly that the east and west 1920 will likely be developed from those existing wells on the south end?
That would be our preferred development modality. It's more efficient from a cost perspective. However, we are evaluating if that's feasible right now.
And if if you didn't use those, I assume it'd still be a pad on the south end somewhere?
That would be the preferred development, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Zach, your existing wells and the 1280s, are those both Three Forks?
Yes, they are.
And your intent here is for all Middle Bakken wells?
Correct.
Is there any plan for an azimuth turn for that third mile where you have some extra gap between where there is no parent well?
You're saying that for sections 22 and 23, where there's no parent well, we'd be pushing the surface or the bottom hole location closer to each other. Currently, that's not part of our drilling plan.
So these would just be straight lines?
That's our current development plan, yes.
And how far are you offsetting from those parent wells to the east and west? Or planned anyway?
I believe it's 800 feet. I don't have that figure in front of me right now.
That's okay. So 800 approximately.
800 to 1,000.
Thank you.
That concludes our hearing for case number 31356. Case number 31357. Application of Spotted Hawk Development LLC for an order amending the field rules for the Van Hook and/or Deepwater Creek Bay, Bakken Pool, McLean, and Dunn Counties, North Dakota, so as to create and establish a 4160-acre spacing unit comprised of sections 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 in the north half of Section 21, Township 150 North, Range 91 West, authorizing the drilling, completing, and producing of a total not to exceed 8 wells, dissolving such other spacing units as may be necessary to allow for orderly development of the proposed 4160-acre spacing unit and such other relief as appropriate. All interested parties, please come forward.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Dan Anderson with Legacy Law Firm, Mandan, North Dakota. We've had a motion filed, a notice, and a proposed order to have Mr. Brown here to practice Pro Hoc Vici. State Board of Law Examiners have approved him as number P02941, and so we'd like to have that motion granted.
The motion is granted.
Thank you.
And Mr. Examiner, Wade Mann, P.O. Box 2798, Bismarck, North Dakota, appearing in this case on behalf of Oasis Petroleum North America, LLC, and also on behalf of Devon Energy Williston, LLC.
And my name is Sam Brown. I work for Spotted Hawk Development, 720 Rush Street, Houston, Texas, 77002. Today we intend to call 3 witnesses. Our first witness will be DeMarco Bell as our land witness. He's present. Our second witness will be Joe Ducey, our geologic witness. He'll be via telephone. And our final witness will be Randy Nessett. He's present. He'll be testifying as to engineering.
Mr. Bell, please raise your right hand. You solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury that testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
Yes. Okay. DeMarco, will you state your full name?
DeMarco Bell.
And with whom are you employed?
Spotted Hawk Development.
In what capacity are you employed with Spotted Hawk Development?
A Chief Executive Officer.
Have you previously testified in front of the commission as to land matters?
Yes.
Spotted Hawk requests that have your qualifications been accepted as that of an expert by the commission previously?
Yes.
I offer DeMarco Bell as an expert.
Motion granted.
DeMarco, let's go to our exhibit packet. And we're going to, if you please turn to what's marked as Exhibit 1. Can you identify Exhibit 1 and describe what's contained in the exhibit?
Yes, Exhibit 1 shows a map of the Fort Berthold Reservation, and it highlights the area of interest containing sections 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, and the north half of section 21 within Township 150 North, Range 91 West.
Can we move to Exhibit 2?
Yes.
And please briefly summarize and explain Exhibit 2.
Certainly. This is the proposed working interest for case 31357. You'll see that we have sections 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, and the north half of 21. Spotted Hawk has 87.7% working interest in this proposed unit. Devon has 11.3%, and others have a 1% interest, less than 1% interest.
Moving on to Exhibit 3. Can you identify Exhibit 3 and briefly summarize what Exhibit 3 contains?
Yes, sir. This is our proposed unit, mineral ownership. And what this shows is that sections 15, 16, 17, 19, 20, and the north half of 21 are owned by Spotted Hawk. It's one lease, and all of this acreage is currently held by production. Within section 18, you also have tribal acreage, but that acreage is not owned by Spotted Hawk. But Spotted Hawk does own a Lati acres within section 18, where our surface location is located. So our surface location is atop of the Alati acres in section 18. Oh, sorry. And I also want to highlight that Spotted Hawk owns 100% of section 15, 100% of section 16, 100% of section 17, 100% of section 19, 100% of section 20, and 100% of the north half of section 21.
Exhibit 4.
So Exhibit 4, it shows the current DSU and leasehold and working interest. So order number 32477 was a 3,520 acre unit that excluded section 15. And this also shows how section 15 is currently spaced within sections 13, 14, 15 DSU via order 25441. So what's important that we're seeking again to highlight is that section 15 is owned 100% by Spotted Hawk, right? And sections 13 and 14 are owned by Cord.
And can you explain Exhibit 5?
Yes. So Exhibit 5 is our effort at a chronology. So you'll see that sections 13 and 14 were drilled back in 2009 by Cord. They put 3 wells in there. So we have 3 Middle Bakken wells in sections 13 and 14. And then later on in section 17, in 2017, in an effort to conform to the technical limit, which was 3 miles at the time, right? We wanted to protect those correlative rights of Section 15, and QEP agreed along with Spotted Hawk that we would place a Three Forks unit for 1,920 acres. So to be clear, those 1,920 acres were stratigraphically delineated from the Middle Bakken. So Order 24007 created a Three Forks only 1920 spacing unit. And the agreement was that Spotted Hawk would drill a 3 mile lateral within that Three Forks delineated 1920 spacing unit. And then subsequently, case number 23112, they were looking for section lines on 13, 14, 15, between 10 and 11, 10, 11, 12. And order number 25441 actually commingled the Middle Bakken and the Three Forks. So to be clear, order number 24007, we had a stratigraphically delineated 1920 for the Three Forks. And then in order 25441, the Middle Bakken of Section 15 was included in the Middle Bakken of Sections 13 and 14. And so it's important to note again that QEP drilled 3 wells targeting the Middle Bakken in Sections 13 and 14. And then in October 2017, they refracked these 3 wells. So not only did they complete these wells once, they've completed them twice.
And just as a correction, was Order 24007 issued in 2014 and not 2017?
Yes, sir. It was issued in 2014. I apologize. I misspoke. Thank you very much.
I have no other questions for the land witness.
Any questions, Attorney Man?
Yeah, Mr. Bell, who owns the minerals in section 15?
Spotted Hawk Development,
The minerals.
3 affiliated tribes.
Okay. Have you communicated with 3 affiliated tribes regarding your proposed spacing?
Yes.
Okay. And what's their position with respect to your proposal?
I don't know.
Are you aware that the tribe submitted a letter to the commission?
Yes.
And are you aware that in that letter that they are opposed to your spacing pattern, the 4160?
Yes, I don't know why, but yes, I know they're opposed.
Okay. And in that letter, are you aware that their position was that they want these minerals developed as part of a 1920 consisting of 13, 14, and 15?
Sure.
Okay. With respect, so
did you know?
no, that's okay.
Oh, okay.
Do you have a surface location secured for the development of the 4160?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have all of the necessary, let me rephrase that, I apologize.
Sure.
Is there any type of a lake setback variance or anything like that that's required?
No.
Okay. Where is that surface location?
It is built in Section 18.
Okay. Where at in 18?
I teach my kids not to use sentences of preposition, so I want to say behind the preposition. But no, it's in the northwestern quarter of Section 18.
Okay. And more specifically, is it where at in the northwest quarter?
The northwest quarter?
Right, I mean, would it be in the northeast or the northwest, or where?
May I? May I?
Yeah, go ahead.
offer-
Yep.
Should I direct this question? Well, it's in it's in M271, track M271 of section 18.
I think that is all the questions I have for Mr. Bell at this time. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
May I redirect?
Yeah, I'm gonna let the commission staff go,
I'm
then you
sorry.
can redirect after that.
Thank you.
I'm gonna note that. Go ahead.
So Wade, you referenced a letter that was sent to the commission. And forgive me if I'm mistaken, but we received a letter from the BLM on November 20th. And that letter included a BLM letter from dated September 27, 2022. And also included a letter from the 3 affiliated tribes dated September 23rd, 2022. Is that the letter you're referring to?
That's correct, Mr. Bohr.
So being a non-attorney, that letter was submitted in a different case. And can the BLM submit that letter on behalf of the tribe in this case?
My position would be, yes, I think they can. I
Well, I
think they
assume your
have,
position
and
would be
it's
that.
also, I mean, it's included in the case file. That's where I retrieved the letter this morning from the case file in this case. I believe it's also contained in the case file for the previous case, which requested the exact same spacing as we're talking about today.
I guess my non-legal question is, since this is from over 2 years ago, is it still applicable? Since they did not submit it.
I mean, yeah, I think it's applicable. I mean, it states their position. I mean, if they're not here to indicate whether that or not that's changed, I mean, I suppose you can give it the, weight you believe is appropriate, but yeah, I think it's still admissible.
Okay, thank you.
So at this point, we're gonna admit the BLM letters. Do you want to keep the record open to verify the validity maintaining of the tribe letter?
I think that would be wise. I mean, do we know if it still applies or not? And so we're not, I mean, if it doesn't apply, we shouldn't be relying on it for any findings that we would make.
Yeah, I mean, I agree absolutely, and I have no problem with that. I think getting the current position of the tribe would be very important in this case.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so the record will remain open then for the commission to verify the accuracy of the tribe letter.
And is that something that we should do, or are you gonna do it? Somebody gonna do it?
I mean, I have probably witnesses that I'll call that can testify to sort of their communications with the tribe, but I mean, I hadn't intended to
Okay. Well,
reach out.
That's something we could do, I suppose, on our own.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Now, does the staff have any questions?
DeMarco, you said the location is currently built, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And when was that built?
2017, 2018.
2018. Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
You can have redirect now.
DeMarco, can I have you turn to Exhibit 3?
Yes.
If we look at the orange, which on the exhibit says that it's a latte, and we look at the purple that says other, would the location approximately be being denoted under the orange next to the purple there?
Yes, I think the location is denoted by the two little circles the darker circles that you see within the orange shade on section 18. I apologize to the commission for not highlighting that more specifically earlier.
Also, may I make a comment about the BLM letter to highlight something that Mr. Bell stated?
Sure.
The lease is held by production. All of the lands are held by the production. The BLM letter, the objection is essentially stating that if there's one well drilled, it could possibly hold all those lands. It doesn't matter if one well is drilled. The lands are currently held. That's my comment.
So, to the extent I can, may I?
If he has questions for you.
Okay.
How long, Mr. Bell, how long have the lands been held by production, and in what form are they held?
So they're held by production via our Indian IMDA lease, and these lands have been held by production since 2014.
One more question. How many lands are, actually two, how many lands are in the IMDA lease, approximately?
Roughly 37,000 acres.
And how many project blocks holding the lands are in the IMDA lease?
So those 37,000 acres are distributed between 5 project blocks, and 1 producing well in each project block holds the entire project block by production.
Thank you, Mr. Bell.
Yes, sir.
I have no other questions.
Attorney Mann, I'll give you a chance to respond.
I have nothing further, thank you.
Can we move on to your second witness?
Yes.
Oh.
So, DeMarco, in the well that holds these particular acres, is that something you can easily supply, or is that?
Yes, sir. We'll be more than happy to supply that to the commission.
Okay,
We have
thank you.
wells plural that hold it, and we'll be more than happy to supply that.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Would the commission like that added as a supplemental slide or as just a response or of some sort?
I guess either way, just if we can identify the well by what you submitted, then we'll know which one it is. So if it's either a written description or a description on a map, it doesn't matter.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, is Mr. Adducey on the phone?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Adducey, do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
Yes.
Joe, please state your first name, your full name, excuse me.
Joseph Gregory Adducci.
And with whom are you employed?
Nessa Consulting Service, contracted to Spotted Hawk Development as a geologist.
And your area of expertise? What is your area of expertise?
Geoscience.
Have you previously testified before the commission as a geoscientist?
Correct. Yes, I have.
Were your credentials accepted as that of an expert?
Yes.
I offer this witness as an expert to the commission.
Motion granted.
Joe, can we turn to Exhibit 6? And can you describe the information therein?
Yes, Exhibit 6 is a geologic structure map across the proposed spacing unit. And this is a subsea structure map on the Middle Bakken showing a gently dipping westward structure of about half a degree.
Can we go on to Exhibit 7 and again describe the information contained therein?
Yes, Exhibit 7 is a type log of the Bakken and Upper Three Forks section, taken from George Evans 11B. This shows the formation top as well as the proposed middle Bakken target and Upper Three Forks targets as well.
Thank you. I have no further questions for the geology.
Any questions, Mr. Chairman?
No questions.
Any questions from the staff?
Joe, on your type log or your reference log, where is that located in relation to Exhibit 6?
That is about 1.5 miles to the west of the western edge of the unit.
So, could you point to the section that it would be in?
Yeah, I believe it is in section 11.
So that well that's probably in the northwest corner that we're looking on, section 6, that well in section 11 is probably the type log? Is that correct?
Yes, correct. I believe so.
Secondly, how confident are you in your structure map with such a lack of well control in the area?
Well, I would say without any other controls, that's all we really have to go off of is well control. There's no seismic tied into this or anything like that. So without evidence of any local structure, we really have to go with regional.
Thank you.
Any redirect?
No.
Okay. Mr. Nesset? Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
Yes, sir.
Randy, please state your full name.
Randolph Allen Nessett.
And with whom are you employed?
I'm employed by Spotted Hawk Development.
In what capacity are you employed with Spotted Hawk Development?
I'm the Chief Operating Officer.
In that capacity, is your educational and work background in the area of petroleum engineering?
Petroleum Engineering, yes, sir.
In that capacity, have you previously testified before the commission?
Yes, I have.
And you've had those credentials accepted as that of an expert by the commission?
Yes, I have.
I offer this witness as an expert.
Motion granted.
If we can turn to Exhibit 8. Randy, can you please identify and describe what we have on Exhibit 8?
Exhibit 8 shows the full proposed development plan of the 4160 acre spacing unit. What we see before us is the combination of red and green lines. These represent both Middle Bakken and Three Forks wells in an alternating pattern drilled from west to east. The western and southernmost wells traverse south before moving in a different azimuth 90 degrees to the east. The full development plan proposes 8 total laterals that are spaced 1,320 feet between laterals. I'd just like to point out, I think that the wording at the top of this exhibit is misleading or error. The spacing between the wells, as I had said, is 1,320 feet.
If we can move to Exhibit 9. Can you identify and describe the contents of Exhibit 9?
Yes, I just wanted to give a little background with this exhibit. This has been developed 6 miles to the north of our proposed spacing unit, and so our design mimics these well plans and the way that these wells were drilled, and so that's how we designed our proposed spacing unit.
On to Exhibit 10.
Yes, I'd like to give just a little bit of background to the commission. First off, this is tough acreage to develop. It's in the widest part of Lake Sakakawea. It's not easy. And so we've had several iterations working on this. Our initial thoughts were to do a starburst or a fan-shaped pattern. However, it's pretty obvious to see that this is leads to spacing between the toes a little bit greater than near the heels, and is not the greatest recovery in terms of reservoir efficiency, and so it leads to developing unnecessary wells and kind of leads to waste. So we don't believe that that is an optimal development plan. We then looked at, can we develop it with some deviated verticals and change all the wells to laydowns. And so we worked down that path by developing a second well pad, and we're calling it our west well pad. And so we had worked towards that with the commission and actually had those spacing units were approved by the commission.
Can you describe what's on Exhibit 11 and identify and explain that exhibit?
Yes, so when we were looking towards breaking this up into 2 units and having 2 separate well pads, our team worked to find a well pad in the area of Section 18 and Section 13. However, there is a tremendous amount of our archaeological in that area. There's a lot of cemeteries, a lot of graves, and so we were not willing, not able to, and we're unable to get consent to survey due to all the archaeological in the area.
Exhibit 12?
Exhibit 12 is a map also of the area in moving farther to the west and northwest in Section 13. And so moving the pad farther away, we then found ourselves too close to, I believe it's Pouch Point Recreation Area. So there's a lot of dwellings there. And so there was an offset that we were too close to. So that was also a non-starter. We were refused to get consent to survey in that area as well.
So when you say you were refused, who refused to provide consent to survey?
I believe it was the land department with the 3 affiliated tribes, but that may be better sent to a land expert.
Can we move on to Exhibit 13?
Yes, Exhibit 13 again shows our attempt at breaking this up into 2 lay-down units by putting the well pad in the northwest corner of Section 13. This now becomes an engineering issue. The well pad is significant distance away from some of the southernmost wells that were to be penetrating Sections 19 and 20. So yes, it leads to shorter laterals in 19 and 22-mile laterals. However, it takes 2 miles to get there. So we feel that this is not the first choice, not the best well design.
And before we move on, are there any locations in Section 24 available for well pads?
No locations in Section 24. Section 24 is 95% under Lake Sakakawea, as well as Section 19, 20, and 21, which is part of the proposed spacing unit.
Can you explain Exhibit 14?
Exhibit 14, again, same map, shows our attempt to put together the west well pad. Again, just detailing that this is a significant offset from the proposed spacing unit, and it leads to in order to get this drilled, we would have to do some highly deviated vertical slants to get the well bore to land in the proposed spacing unit. And so the engineering and technical challenges associated with such are higher risk, And although the well could probably be drilled, I think that it would lead to significant inefficiencies and higher risk in the completions and more specifically the production of proposed well bores, as the artificial lift design of these wells would be severely hampered.
Randy, did Devon or WPX have any questions about locating a well pad on section, or any concerns about locating a well pad on section 13?
I believe at the time they did express concern that we would have well bores in section 13, since they already have well bores in section 13. So that was another concern, another issue that we would have had to deal with, and I believe that they had concerns with it.
Moving on, can you discuss Exhibit 15?
So Exhibit 15 is just a real basic example of our concerns with such a highly deviated well that creates some high angles in the vertical portion of the well. And we have some experience with some deviation. I understand that there are wells that are being lifted by sucker rods even up to high 20s, even 30 degrees in the vertical portion of the well. Long stroke units are able to produce some of those wells. These wells, where we could get a well pad to develop these spacing units, we would be talking about upwards of 50 degrees. And so I am not aware, I guess, of any wells that are rod lifted at 50 degrees. I feel that never say never. I don't want to say it's not impossible. I would say that it is not the first design for wells that we would choose. If there is another option at another well design, we should look at that first. More specifically, just it's the deviation creates a lot of rod and tubing friction on the production side. It makes electric submersible pump deployment severely hampered. There's just not a lot of clearance on a very rigid ESP pump that's 150 foot long and 5 7/8 outside diameter and a 6.094 inside diameter casing, and it can lead to wreckage or broken pump parts trying to deploy the pump. And so there's just a significant amount of risk that I don't feel is the most optimal well design in this situation.
Can you discuss Exhibit 16?
Exhibit 16 is just a model from a sucker rod design from Rodstar with some 45 degrees of deviation in the vertical, and it shows an extreme amount of side load on the sucker rods to the tubing. What it doesn't show is that you would likely have a severe buckling of the rods because the rods are not going to want to fall. They're just literally not going to want to go down in the well, and so you have several factors that are going to be highly risky and severely hampered. It's rod and tubing friction, for one, is the big thing. It can lead to wear. Two, you have a significant amount of rod stretch, which means your downhole sucker rod pump is not going to have much stroke, if any. And then getting your rods to fall is just going to be very difficult. And so when we looked at this spacing unit, it immediately became evident that this should not be the first design that we look at.
And can you discuss Exhibit 17?
So Exhibit 17 kind of walks us back to where we are today with the proposed development plan in front of everyone. We worked closely with Halliburton Energy Services and their team, both the completion tools, drilling team, to develop the wells plans that you see before you. And we're in several iterations. We're not in a final state. We have done quite a lot of modeling around it. The risks associated with the development plan, as we see in Exhibit 17, these are extreme reach laterals. So the question becomes the forces that are exerted on the drill string while drilling. is the major concern. The artificial lift in this scenario is severely minimized, and so lease operating expenses are significantly reduced throughout the life of the well. The focus becomes, can the well be drilled?
Exhibit 18.
As I previously mentioned, the forces on the drill string on such a long lateral are going to be your torque and drag, and how that affects a situation that we'd like to avoid called helical buckling of the drill string. When we model this out with Sperry drilling, the graph that we see before you shows that the 8 of 2118, which is the western and southernmost well design, so this is the one with the big turn in the lateral, shows that the drill string is above the helical buckling minimum while rotating on bottom, and shows that the well can be drilled without putting the drill string in a compromising position.
And can you explain Exhibit 19?
So 19, like I said, the other factors affecting helical buckling and actually factors of them in and of themselves are going to be the torque and the drag. This graph here specifically addresses the drag. As we get that much drill pipe out in the open hole, in the lateral, of course, is going to create a lot of drag. And so the limitations for tripping out of the hole are traditionally, most of the time, and specifically in this case, is going to be the tension on the drill string. And so that is the limiting factor that we want to model out and make sure that we are under the limit of, and the model here shows that we're under 80% of the safety factor of the tension of the 4-inch XD39 drill pipe. Actually, take that back. I believe this was 4-inch Delta 391 that we modeled with this scenario. But anyway, it's under the 80% tension while tripping out of the hole.
Moving on, can you describe what's shown in Exhibit 20?
And so the last portion, kind of that I talked about, forces affecting the drill string while drilling is going to be torque. And with, again, modeling this out, this graph just shows that we are right about at the 80% safety factor with torque while rotating on bottom. Again, this is with 4-inch Delta 391, using a 0.2 friction factor, which the engineers at Halliburton have modeled and said this is the most accurate for Bakken wells.
Moving on to Exhibit 21, can you explain what is contained on Exhibit 21?
Exhibit 21 shows sections 13 and 14 and 15. There's currently an overlapping spacing unit consisting of 13 and 14 and 15. It overlaps to 1280, consisting of 13 and 14. The wells, there are 3 wells in sections 13 and 14. They have been completed and then recompleted again in 2017. They have produced a cumulative amount of 1.1 million barrels of oil. We would consider that to be significant depletion of those 2 sections. And so our concern is if Section 15 were to be added into that spacing unit, that it would not protect correlative rights. Our proposal is to develop it from the west side, and we feel that we have modeled out the wells so that we can actually drill and complete it and produce it from the west side of the spacing unit.
Moving on to Exhibit 22, can you explain the information therein?
Yes, again, I guess I kind of touched on it on the last slide, but the same thing, it's showing the overlapping current 1920 acre spacing unit, in which there are 3 wells in sections 13 and 14. 1.1 million barrels have been extracted, to which no production has come from section 15. There are currently no wells in section 15 at this time.
And how many wells, to your knowledge, does Court plan to drill, or would they drill through the Middle Bakken that's currently depleted?
Yes, they had previously told us that they would develop it with more infill wells, three more infill Middle Bakken wells.
All right. Moving on to Exhibit 23.
Exhibit 23 is just an example wellbore schematic of how we would, our well design for the wells proposed in the unit. We would drill surface with a 13.5-inch hole and set 9.5/8 36-pound J55 at least 50 foot into the pier shale per NDIC rules. We then drill out the vertical. The verticals may have some deviation in them. They probably will not end up being completely straight down, but they'll have minimal so that we can manage any artificial lift issues. Either way, it'll be drilled with 8 3/4-inch hole to kickoff point and curve, and then it will ultimately be cased with 7-inch 32-pound HCP 110 with some kind of a buttress thread, high-performance buttress thread is what we would be looking at. And then ultimately the lateral will be drilled with a 6-inch bit to total depth, and then a 4.5-inch liner would be installed just above kickoff point to TD. It will be cemented in place, and the ultimate completion would consist of 13 single-entry sliding sleeves towards the toes of the well bores to reduce cycle time between the wells as we're completing them, and then followed by plug and perf the rest of the way back to the heel. Ultimately, the completion consists of about 1,200 pounds per foot of a 100 mesh and 40/70 mesh white sand at roughly 27 barrels per foot. And we would pump that at a rate of 80 to 90 barrels per minute.
And can you explain Exhibit 24?
Exhibit 24 is just our reservoir and economics. So I'll just kind of quickly hit the highlights here. Middle Bakken, you're looking at roughly 40 feet of vertical thickness and porosity in the 5% range. Water saturation about 35%. The Three Forks, we're sticking to bench 1, I guess, as nomenclature has been used. Roughly 44 feet of vertical thickness and a 7.5% porosity. Water saturation can be upwards of 45%, and so the EUR on a single 3-mile Middle Bakken well, we're roughly 865,000 barrels of oil, 919,000 for a 3-mile Three Forks. Some of our longer wells in the spacing unit can get upwards of 1.04 to 1.038 million barrels of oil per well. The total projected EUR of the spacing unit, which is the 8 total wells of 7.7 million barrels of oil. And we'd be looking at about $100 million in development costs, 43% IRR, and a PV10 of 62.4 million, and that's based on a November 18th NYMEX price deck.
And finally, is Exhibit 25 a gas capture plant affidavit in the manner that the commission requests?
Yes, that's correct.
I have no other questions for the engineering witness.
Attorney Mann?
Yeah, just briefly. Mr. Nesset, Spotted Hawk hasn't drilled any 4-mile wells yet, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Well, when's the last wells that Spotted Hawk has drilled?
Was in 2015.
2015. So, are there any concerns from Spotted Hawk's end with respect to kind of drainage in that 4th mile of the lateral?
Could you reword the question? I'm not sure I follow exactly what you're getting at.
Right. If you've never drilled a 4-mile lateral, don't have any data, any production data or completions information.
Oh, I see what I'm saying. Can we effectively complete and produce the 4th mile?
Correct, essentially, right.
Yeah, so it is correct. So I will let you, I can bring in some of the history and the wells that we have drilled. And so 10 years ago, at the time, we drilled the Golden Well, which is actually a well that the toes are adjacent to the proposed spacing unit from the east side of the lake. At that time, it was the longest well in North Dakota. Our team specifically developed tactics, techniques, and procedures on how to execute that well, how to complete it, and produce it. The well was a success. It was ultimately 27,141 feet in total depth. So the wells that we're talking about here are about another 2,000 feet. And again, like I said, they're not completely designed up. I'm still tweaking a few things on that'll affect the ultimate total depth of the wells. However, I think the evidence is if we look up the production on that well from the east side of the lake, specifically it's called the Golden 22-31H. The production, I think, speaks for itself that we are draining the entire length of the well. I do understand that these wells that we're talking about are another 2,000 feet. And so is it going to be drained as effectively as the heel? Likely not. But I do think that we will get significant amount of production from that 4th mile. It is in what we'd like to say, virgin territory or undeveloped, there is no other production in that section.
Sure. And you also mentioned protecting the correlative rights, of the owners. If you've got a single owner that owns all the minerals in section 15, should they have any say in how they want their minerals developed?
I believe that kind of gets into a leasehold question. I'm not really the expert on that.
Okay. That's all the questions that I have at this time.
Any questions from the staff?
Going through your completion design, I heard that you said you're gonna do some sliding sleeves and then plug and perf.
Yes, sir.
Are those gonna be, can you walk me through how that kind of works?
Yes, sir. So it's it's a design that I've worked with Halliburton's completion team. And so they recommended 13 single entry sliding sleeves that can be used with a cemented completion. And so the wiper plug for the liner actually passes through the sleeves. And then there's a cased, they call it a CT sleeve. So it's a casing test sleeve at the toe. So we'll be able to pressure test all the way from surface to the toe prior to blowing the burst disc in that casing test sleeve. Walking back from there, there's a series of sleeves that we can ball drop. And so it just takes a long time to wire line that far, as you can imagine, doing a full plug and perf. When we developed the Golden Well, we did actually wire line the whole thing, plug and perf the whole way. It's just a long time, a lot of wire lining. So this was our effort to make things quicker towards the toe, since it is a significant distance out there. And they're relatively simple devices. So when you get that far out, we try to avoid complicated operations activities. And so we feel that the design that we've worked with Halliburton will help reduce cycle times and be able to get out of there quicker.
Okay. Thank you.
Randy, under your Exhibit 11, and if your land representative needs to answer it, that's fine. I just want to make sure I understand it. On the bottom image, Beaver Creek, you have a solid square line and then a rectangular dotted line. Is that the proposed for the case location?
Are you referring to the black lines, the black squares?
Correct.
So that is the current well pad that is built in the area, and that is the one that, the well pad that we propose to use. The solid black area, I believe, is the cleared area for Arky, and the dashed black line is actually the outline of the pad dimensions.
And then in that same image, if you just simply go to the north and slightly to the west, you have a, I'll say, a purple or pinkish or violet color there with lines going through. What is that depicting?
I'm actually not certain. I think that was actually another well pad there. Yeah, I apologize. I'm not exactly certain what that specifically means.
So the pad that's indicated here that you just stated will be used, it appears that some of that is within that archaeological areas, but they were, or the tribal area cleared that or was okay with it?
Oh yes, our pad was built, and all the archaeological has been cleared. Environmental assessment, we have to go through all that. So yes, that has been cleared. The map here is probably not accurate to scale exactly. However, I do want to point out one thing, and I don't think that the purple lines are depicting this. However, that actually is where our proposed central tank battery pad, I shouldn't say proposed, it is built. We will have an off-site tank farm that'll be away from the proximity to the lake. And so we will actually transport via flow line the fluids back to a central tank battery pad that is in the area of the hash marks on this map.
So that, and that actually is one of my questions, is your tank battery location is currently built and you would just simply expand upon it? Is that what you're stating?
It's built and we plan to use that pad for our tank farm.
You'll just commingle? our request to commingle?
There's no other wells. Can you restate the question? I'm not sure exactly following.
Well, if I'm understanding you right, you're saying the tank battery's currently there that you're gonna use.
Let me restate. The well pad, or the central tank battery pad is constructed. There are no tanks on it yet.
On Exhibit 25, your midstream or your gas capture plan, that's dated from September of 2022. Have you had current communication with this midstream provider and there's no changes to what they're able to provide?
Our most current was in the last year, and they had some capacity issues on that line prior. And so 2 years ago, it would have been difficult. Modeling out now, we feel that there is sufficient capacity. There is a right-of-way that they already own that goes right to the central tank battery pad. So the most recent that we've had, where they stated they modeled they would have capacity, has been in the last year. And I apologize for not updating the affidavit.
Is that something that you think would be possible?
Yes, we can do that.
I think I have a few more, but I'll have to go find those.
Randy, when are you looking at drilling these?
Yes, so we're aware of Neighbors B25 as a rig that's out drilling now. Ideally, we'd move that rig over here in the middle of February when it becomes available. I think that's gonna be too tight of a timeline. We have to get the spacing unit approved and we have to get permits. I think this is gonna push us to Q2 of '25. So unfortunately, that rig may have to go down for a couple months until we can get everything ready. But Q2 of '25 is what we're planning on right now. Hopefully before frost laws.
And when you were discussing your completions, how many feet are you looking to do between stages?
Our completion intervals or stages, if you will, are about 235 to 250 feet. So for the longer wells, we'd be looking at a total of 80 stages.
Thank you.
Randy, on your Exhibit 21, you have a section 15 listed as a stranded Middle Bakken DSU, I assume?
Yes, that's correct. One of the previous spacing units, honestly, this may be a better land question, but I'll take a stab at it. One of the previous spacing units that was approved was a Three Forks unit? Yes. Right, so there was a plan at one point in time to develop just the Three Forks in sections 13 and 14 and 15, and there wasn't a clear path to developing the Middle Bakken in section 15. So that's what that is alluding to.
Do you know why that 1920 hasn't been developed?
No, I do not.
You mentioned that, I believe, if I caught it correctly, including section 15 in that 1920 doesn't protect correlative rights? Is that what you said?
Yes, sir.
Could you explain why it doesn't protect correlative rights?
Because there has been 1.1 million barrels of oil that have already been produced from sections 13 and 14. If you introduce section 15 into that unit, then the owners of section 15 will not have taken part in any of the production from sections 13 and 14. So the majority of the oil that would come out of new wells developed in that spacing unit would come out as 66% ownership of not Spotted Hawk. Spotted Hawk would only get 33% of the production from that overlapping spacing unit when the majority of the oil is coming from section 15.
So in essence, you're saying since 15 didn't share in 13 and 14 production, 13 and 14 shouldn't share in 15 production?
Yes, sir, that is what I'm saying.
Okay, thank you.
Randy, do you have an estimate of how much you believe out of that 1.1 million that's already been produced? What is that of how much of the potential has been produced? 50%, 25, 75?
How much of the estimated ultimate recovery?
Yeah, how much?
I have not modeled that out. However, given the current production of the wells in that unit that have been refracked, I would say they are getting near late life of the wells.
Thank you.
David, did you have any more questions? Any redirect?
Yes. Randy, are there any indications that 4-mile wells are being drilled in the Bakken?
Yes, the service companies that Spotted Hawk is working with on designing these wells are telling us that they have drilled 4-mile wells in the Bakken recently.
I have no other redirect.
Attorney man, I'll give you a chance to.
I have nothing further.
Nothing further? Okay, then, at this point, Attorney man, it's your
Yeah,
case.
and I gotta try to get my witnesses on the phone too.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, let's take a 10-minute break at this point while we're kind of getting everything together. Is that okay?
That'll maybe help me get those guys lined up.
Okay, we're back on the record. Attorney Mann, it's your case.
Thank you, Mr. Examiner. I do have witnesses from both Oasis and Devon on the call. Just briefly before I call those witnesses, do want to note that I will be making a request that to keep the record open in this case to allow an opportunity to address some of these exhibits. So we're looking at a very large, atypical, off-pattern spacing, and we're also looking at some, we're looking at a series of 4-mile wells. Nobody's disputing that 4-mile wells have been drilled in North Dakota, but it's very early stages. There's not a lot of data, completion or production data on those. We've also got a mineral owner that owns the bulk of the minerals in here who has expressed significant concern. I think it's very important that the commission, get it right on the spacing, and I think as much, technical data and information that they have, the better off that everybody's going to be. I think both Devon and Cord had requested coming into this that, if we could continue it and or at least, see some of this technical data, kind of see what they're envisioning, what Spotted Hawk was looking at, how it was going to work. And it's my understanding that, those requests were declined and we're here today. I think it's important for both Cord and Devon to have an opportunity to take a look at these and have the technical people kind of determine, maybe they'll be fine with some of it, maybe there'll be some concerns, but the more data and the more technical information that the commission has from both of these operators who are operators in this area with significant experience drilling wells, over the last decade, I think that's important, especially in light of the tribe's concerns and the BLM's concerns. So I will be requesting that the record be left open to address some of these technical exhibits.
Well, we can address that right now. Does the commission have any issue with that?
Well, I guess I'm curious, Wade, what? Oh, I don't have the right one open. Were there requests to continue this that were denied?
Neither party made a formal request to the commission to continue the case. It was my understanding there were communications, between the parties were, informally asking for another month, an opportunity to kind of look at this in further detail.
So do you know why those weren't brought to the commission's attention?
I just elected not to make a formal motion to the commission on it.
Well, I guess we'll revisit this at the end of the hearing and see what.
Yeah, understood. I mean, like I said, I don't think it does anybody any good to kind of hide the ball. We're not going to tell you what we're going to do, and then we're going to show up and kind of spring it on you with no opportunity to respond to it. That's it. So.
And that's an everyday occurrence on these hearings, though, isn't it?
In a typical uncontested spacing case, but when we're talking about, like I said, a 4160 off-pattern, atypical, very important to, one mineral owner in particular who has expressed, their opposition to this. Yeah, I think this is a little bit different, unique circumstances.
Okay.
Okay, let's proceed with your witnesses then.
First, from Oasis, I'm going to call Keith Swiderski.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Swiderski,
Yes, sir.
do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
Yes, I do.
Keith, can I have you state your name, tell us by whom you're employed, in what capacity, and give us your business address?
Yes, my name is Keith Swiderski. I'm employed by Cord Energy. I'm a senior layman, senior staff layman, and my business address is 1001 Fannin Street, Suite 1500, Houston, Texas 77002.
And Keith, have you previously testified before the commission?
Yes, sir.
Have you had your qualifications received as that of an expert?
Yes, sir.
And are you familiar with the land matters associated with the Spotted Hawk proposed spacing unit as well as the land matters associated with the adjoining lands?
Yes, sir. More so, obviously, for our unit, but yes, sir.
Understood. I'd move the testimony of Mr. Swiderski be received as that of an expert.
Motion granted.
All right. And Keith, let's take a look at your exhibit L1. Can I have you walk us through that exhibit and just explain what you're showing there?
Yeah, so L1 shows obviously Spotted Hawk's proposed unit in our approved unit, which is encompass 150, 91, sections 13, 14, and 15, being in 1920, which we intend to drill 3-mile lateral.
And then L2, what's your working interest in that spacing unit?
Yes, sir. So our working interest is 66.67% of the unit. We own the leasehold in sections 13 and 14, while Spotted Hawk owns the leasehold in 15.
You kind of cut out a little bit, Keith. Can you repeat that?
Yes, sir. So our working interest in the approved 1920 is 66.67%, and our working interest in the proposed 4160 would be 0%.
Okay. And Keith, I don't know if you heard any of the previous testimony, and there are some questions. One of the questions from Mr. Bohr was, you know, why hasn't this already been developed? Do you know the answer to that?
We've been working pretty diligently to get this developed. As a matter of fact, we've secured a surface use agreement for the location. The primary reason we have to develop it to date is because recently we, had some other acquisitions that came through that kind of just some of the interplus stuff that we recently acquired kind of became more priority. So that's why it got pushed back. But we do have full intention to develop this as soon as we can. And we obviously just recently developed the northern 1920 with completion being last year.
Okay. And you also may have heard there was some question with respect to, a letter that was previously in the file from the tribe. Are you aware of an updated letter?
Yes, sir. I was forwarded a letter from the landman that represents the tribe that is dated November 21st, 2024. That is basically just following up on the initial letter that you had on your file that expresses their protest on the spacing order.
Okay. And Keith, has the tribe expressed to Cord their desire to have Cord develop this existing 13, 14, 15 spacing unit?
Yes, sir. I've had multiple conversations with the tribe regarding our plans, and they prefer us to develop Section 15 included in our 1920, and that is also referenced in the new letter that is dated today.
Okay. And you have a copy of that letter, you said?
Yes, sir.
And Mr. Examiner, we can submit that letter, after the hearing, that from the tribe.
The one supporting the older letter?
Correct.
Okay.
So, that's all the questions I have for Mr. Swiderski. I'd offer L1 and L2.
Exhibits are admitted. Any cross?
Yes. Mr. Swiderski.
Yes, sir.
In the court in its Q124 earning presentation state that it planned to drill 4-mile laterals in the Bakken?
I can't recall off the top of my head, but I do know that we do have plans to develop 4-mile laterals.
Okay. In Cord's 3Q24 earnings presentation, the court highlight that it believes that long laterals improve capital efficiency.
I can't say for certain. I don't have that in front of me currently.
In its 3Q24 earning presentation, the court state that its ideal spacing is only Middle Bakken.
Again, I can't say for certain. I don't have that in front of me currently.
Is court aware of Hess's 2022 study stating that the Middle Bakken spaced at 900 feet effectively drains the Three Forks 450 feet away?
I have not read that report personally, so I can't speak to that.
And to be clear, Keith, you've stated that you have been in direct contact with the 3 affiliated tribes discussing the development of Section 15?
Yes, sir.
And just to go back to L2, what interest does CORD have in Section 15?
We own 0. Like I said earlier, we own the interest in sections 13 and 14.
And Sections 13 and 14 are currently in production?
Yes, sir, I believe so.
Spot Hawk would like to offer supplementary exhibits showing that CORD has stated that long laterals are efficient in their earning presentations, and that CORD has stated that it is drilling 4-mile laterals and foresees drilling more 4-mile laterals in the Bakken. I have no other questions.
Any objection
No objection.
to the admission of the supplemental exhibits?
Yep, no objection.
Okay. Any questions from the staff?
Wade, I think this would actually be a question for you, but if Oasis has been in contact with the tribe and it supports what their spacing unit is, why hasn't that been submitted to the commission yet, if they received a letter?
Oh, the updated letter, I mean, I think CORD just received that updated letter, would be my understanding. If we would have had it ahead of time, is that correct, Keith?
Yes, sir. The letter was sent to me during the call. It's dated November 21st. It looks like it was sent via email. Is what I'm just looking at it right now.
Okay.
Keith,
I'm sorry.
Keith, you mentioned that CORD just completed the northern 1920. You're talking about the 1920 directly north of 13, 14, and 15?
Yes, sir. In sections 10, 11, and 12. That would be our Moose DSU, which we completed as of last December.
How long has CORD had the acreage in 13, 14, and 15?
We acquired that from QET in Q4 of 2021.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Attorney Mann, any redirect?
No, Mr. Examiner.
Okay.
May I have additional cross?
That's fine.
Keith?
Yes, sir.
What is the royalty in sections 13 and 14?
I don't have that in front of me. I believe it is 18%, perhaps. For the tribal royalties, what you're asking?
Yes, and do you know the royalty in section 15?
I do not have that lease in front of me, sir.
Are you aware of whether the royalty in section 15 is greater than the royalty in sections 13 and 14?
Like I said, I haven't seen the lease, sir, so I can't tell you.
If section 15 is placed in with sections 13 and 14, and it has a greater royalty than section 15, will the royalty going to TAT be diluted further in the 1920?
Are you asking if the overall royalty to the tribe will be less than what the royalty is on your lease 15?
Yes.
Yeah, it'll be proportionally reduced.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand what you said.
I said it would be proportionally reduced.
Thank you.
Yep.
Is that it?
Yes.
Any response?
No, nothing further.
Okay, we can call your next witness.
Okay, Eva Tomova Medina.
Yes, sir.
Eva, do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
Yes, I do.
Eva, can I have you state your name, tell us by whom you're employed and in what capacity, and give us your business address?
Yes, sir. My name is Eva Tomova Medina, and I'm a development advisor at Ford Energy. Our address is 50, or apologies. 1001 Fanning Street, Suite 1500, Houston, Texas 7700. Apologies.
And Eva, have you previously testified before the commission?
Yes, I have.
Okay. Have you had your qualifications received as that of an expert on engineering-related matters?
Yes, I have.
And are you familiar with the engineering matters associated with the Spotted Hawk proposed spacing as well as that 1920 that we've been discussing?
Yes, I am.
Okay, I'd move the testimony of Ms. Medina be received as that of an expert.
Motion granted.
And Eva, let's look at your exhibit number E1. Can you just explain for us what your proposed development plans for that 1920 are going to look like?
Yes, sir. So as pictured on the map there, we're planning for 3 Middle Bakken wells drilled from a pad that, as Keith alluded to, we've secured the SUA for, and that pad will be in Section 18. As mentioned, our plan was to drill this in 25, but as of the recent Enterprise acquisition, it was pushed into 26. We've talked a lot about the depletion in 13 and 14, and we have those current EORs at 0.6, so the note that the gentleman was saying about just above 1 million, that's from both sections. So we're estimating sections 13 and 14 to have about half of the extractable oil still in place, and plan to alternate the completion design in section 15 to ensure that we recover similar reserves from all 3 sections. As Keith mentioned, our development to the north side, sections 10, 11, and 12, that's our Moose GS2 that we drilled year before, till last year. So we are very confident in the results from that development, and very confident that we can drain that 3rd mile properly based on our vast development with 3-mile laterals in this area and in others. Another, I guess, reason to point out that we have not drilled this quite yet is that we're going to be drilling it in conjunction with a stand-up 2-mile development in 18 and 19. We'll use the same path for that.
Go ahead, Eva. I apologize.
I was going to say with those shorter laterals, they're a little bit less economic, bringing down the overall project economics a little bit less favorable overall for us. But if there's any other reason for us to accelerate this, development, I'm sure we can take that into account and accelerate if needed. We can please discuss it internally if that is the wish of the commission or whatnot.
And Eva, is it your understanding that the sole mineral owner in section 15 has expressed a desire to have its minerals developed as part of this existing 1,920 acre spacing unit?
Yes, sir. This development also just fits the overall spacing pattern in this part of the Bakken. So I just believe that what Court and Oasis has proposed matches both the spacing pattern and satisfies the tribal wishes.
So Eva, based on what you've just testified to you, in your expert opinion, would this development prevent waste, protect relative rights, and prevent the drilling of unnecessary wells?
Yes, sir.
I have no further questions. I'd offer the exhibit.
The exhibit is admitted. Any cross?
Yes. Eva, do you expect similar performance in sections 13, 14, and 15 as in the Moose unit to the north, comprised of sections 10, 11, and 12?
Overall, you cover yes, sir.
So Eva, you are stating that you expect the performance on, just to be clear, the performance in the unit that has 3 wells that have removed over 1.1 million barrels in the Middle Bakken, drilled in the Middle Bakken, and have been online for 10 years to perform at the same rate as virgin mineral acres or virgin rock.
I testified that overall DSU recovery will be similar. So I don't believe that what you just summarized for me is what I actually said. Like I mentioned, section 13 and 14 have recovered 0.6 MMBO each. So, as you stated, sections 10, 11, and 12 have not. And we're planning on making sure that all 6 sections recover the appropriate oil similarly.
Eva, you stated that you are aware of, let me ask you, are you aware of Devon WPX's has Cord and Devon been in discussion about development of Spotted Hawk's acreage?
Yes, we have discussed potential options for us to develop that accordingly. Yes.
I have no other questions.
Any questions from the staff?
Eva, where's your pad location in section 18?
Can you tell you the exact quarter?
Do you know, Eva, or do we need to recall Keith?
Yeah,
You do know?
I do. Yes, I do, sir. It's on the north side section. It's the Trying to get the quarter right. Do you need the quarter, or could I just say it's like towards the middle of the north side of section 18?
So it's near the, it's near the mid.
It's towards the north side. There is an existing pad just across our proposed pad.
So it's near the pad that's in the southwest of section 7? Or,
Yes,
excuse me.
correct. It's the northernmost pad in section 18. There's a small existing pad. It's going to be just across the street from that. And the landowner has requested to develop
So I misspoke.
section 18 and 19.
So I misspoke. It's near the pad in the southeast of section 7?
It's not in section 7, it's section 18.
But
it's the northern.
Yeah, why don't you supplement the record with the location of the pad?
Will do. Also had some questions. I guess this is my first time doing this part, so I don't know at what point, or if I get option to ask some questions.
Well, Eva, you don't have an opportunity to ask anybody questions, I guess. So.
Thank you. I guess I can state essentially that Ford has drilled a 4-mile lateral as of this month. And as stated, we have plans to drill more 4-mile laterals. However, there are concerns that Ford has with the contribution from the 4th mile. And also there's a lot of engineering going on, more on the cleanout side, which apologies if I did not hear the gentleman speaking, what the plans were for cleanout. That's been our biggest concern. For drilling has gone well, but cleanout has been quite an issue planning for, which is why we're not planning on tilling our 4-mile lateral until later next year. I did not hear anything around the cleanout plan, and also the 4-mile comment around the performance. The way that we here at Ford, I guess, note where a well has performed up to their expectation is by comparing a vast amount of 3-mile wells, 2-mile wells, and showing that, yes, clearly we can see the contribution from the third mile. And that's our plan for the 4-mile versus 3-mile development. I fail to understand if the gentleman was just justifying on one well that they had drilled and completed, or if he had some examples where he was comparing that production versus other wells that were shorter, potentially to justify or to prove that there's a contribution from the for the end of the lateral. Obviously, in this case, we have many 3-mile laterals behind us, and we feel like we can effectively drain Section 15 as as we have stated previously, to protect relative rights. That is all I have. I apologize.
Anything further from the staff? Attorney Manager, redirect.
No, Mr. Examiner, thank you.
Do you have any more witnesses?
I do have one, Mr. James Benson with Devon.
Mr. Benson,
Yes, sir.
do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
I do.
James, can I have you state your name for the record, tell us by whom you're employed and what capacity, and give us your business address?
Sure. James Benson, I'm a senior staff lineman at Devon Energy, located at 333 Sheridan Avenue, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, 72202.
And James, have you previously testified before the commission?
Yes, I have.
And have you had your qualifications received as that of an expert?
Yes.
And are you familiar with the land matters associated with this proposed spacing unit?
I'm familiar with Section 18 of the lands of this application, yes.
Understood. I would move the testimony of Mr. Benson be received as that of an expert.
Motion granted.
And James, you don't have any any exhibits, but can I just have you identify what Devon's interest is in the Spotted Hawk's proposed spacing unit, and then kind of address any concerns that you might have with potential development on this 4,160 acre basis?
Yes. Devon owns approximately 467 net acres there in Section 18 of tribal leasehold. And, when looking at this application, we've been working with Spotted Hawk over the last few weeks, trying to understand the development pattern that they're proposing under this application. And, just generally speaking, we have not been able to view those exhibits to date. And, generally speaking, we would prefer the existing spacing on a laydown basis. That way we could also potentially maximize some lease lines. We do operate adjacent 3-mile DSUs to the north, and also be able to maximize that non-op acreage in Section 18 under the development plan. So, generally speaking, we feel that the laydown development is more efficient, more practical for development.
Okay. I have no further questions for Mr. Benson.
Nick Ross?
Yes. Hello, James. Has Devon identified and received consent for a pad for this second laydown that Devon seems to be proposing?
No, we have not. I believe you in prior weeks the desire to explore that area for potential additional pad. To that extent, I think we've been able to move forward and to identify it as of yet. No.
Does Devon have wells currently in Section 13? Operated wells?
Yes, we do. That is our SBIR DSU located on 1280 basis in Section 13 and 24.
James, have you previously emailed me asking that Spotted Hawk not cite a well pad in Section 13?
I do not recall if you're speaking of prior years. I believe our concern was anti-collision risk with the existing producers that we have in that DSU, and the intent was to work with Spotted Hawk in order to mitigate that risk, maximize development.
I have no further questions.
Any questions from the staff? Any redirect?
No, Mr. Examiner.
Okay, at this point, we need to keep the record open for several items. How long do you guys think you need?
I would say the Monday following Thanksgiving, December 2nd, I believe.
Second, okay. Do you agree, Attorney Brown?
Yes, sir.
December 2nd's good?
Yes, sir. And to be clear, Spotted Hawk owes you the, updated, let me grab my notes, because I don't want to not have.
Gas capture affidavit, sir.
Correct.
Okay, the record will remain, oh, good.
I was just saying the gas capture affidavit, and then you were gonna submit which well holds those leases.
The lease, thank you.
So the record will remain open in this case until December 2nd. I believe with that, that concludes our hearing for case number 31357.
Thank you.
Yeah, good job. Case number 31300, application of Formentera Operations LLC for an order amending the field rules for the Bluffton Bakken Pool, Divide County, North Dakota, to create and establish an overlapping 1920-acre spacing unit comprised of sections 21, 28, and 33, Township 162 North, Range 97 West, authorizing the drilling of a total not to exceed 8 horizontal wells on said proposed overlapping 1920-acre spacing unit, and/or such further relief. This case has been continued to our December hearings. That concludes our hearing for case number 31300. Moving now to the supplement. Case number 31358, application of KT Enterprises LLC for an order authorizing the conversion of a Minnelusa group fracture injection well to be utilized for fracture injection into the Côte Formation in the KT Enterprises 34-22 SFI well to be located in the northeast-southeast quarter of Section 22, Township 150 North, Range 96 West, Johnson Corner Field, McKenzie County, North Dakota, pursuant to NDAC Chapter 430205, and such other relief as is appropriate. This case has been continued to our December hearings. That concludes our hearing for case number 31358. Case number 31301, application of Stevens Williston LLC doing business as SEG Williston LLC for an order amending the field rules for the Bluffton Bakken Pool, Divide County, North Dakota, to establish an overlapping 1920-acre stand-up spacing unit comprised of all of sections 9, 16, and 21, Township 162 North, Range 97 West, and authorizing the drilling, completion, and production of a total not to exceed 8 horizontal wells on such proposed spacing unit and such other relief as appropriate. This case has been continued to our December hearings. That concludes our hearing for case number 31301. Case number 31302, application of WPX Energy Williston LLC for an order for the Wolf Bay Bakken Pool, Dunn County, North Dakota, to create and establish an overlapping 2880-acre spacing unit comprised of all of sections 31 and 32, the west half of section 33, Township 147 North, Range 92 West, and the west half of section 4 and all of sections 5 and 6, Township 146 North, Range 92 West, authorizing the drilling of a horizontal well on or near the section line between existing spacing units on said proposed overlapping 28-acre spacing unit and such further relief as appropriate. This case has been continued to our December hearings. That concludes our hearing for case number 31302. Case number 31154, application of Sustainable Projects Group, Inc. for an order pursuant to NDAC 43020351 at SEC, authorizing the construction of a treating plant to be located in the southeast quarter of Section 21, Township 149 North, Range 98 West, McKenzie County, North Dakota, and such other relief as is appropriate. This case has been continued to our December hearings. That concludes our hearing for case number 31154. Case number 31151, in the matter of a hearing called at a motion of the Commission to consider the temporary spacing to develop an oil and/or gas pool discovered by West Dry Creek 1H well located in the southwest northeast quarter, Section 12, Township 160 North, Range 85 West, Renville County, North Dakota, to find the field limits and enact such special field rules as may be necessary. This case has been continued to our January hearings. That concludes our hearing for case number 31151. Case number 31304, in the matter of a hearing called on a motion of the Commission to consider the confiscation of all production-related equipment and saleable oil at the Beta Race Federal 22-6 well southeast northwest quarter, section 6, township 144 north, range 100 west, Ice Caves Field, Billings County, North Dakota, operated by North Range Resources LLC or any working interest owner pursuant to NDCC 380804 and 380804.9. All interested parties, please come forward.
Mr. Examiner, the commission would note that it received a letter from the Dakota Prairie Grasslands, which is the U.S. Forest Service, as well as a letter from the Bureau of Land Management in this matter. The commission would also request that the well file be made part of the record and the ability to take administrative notes of the field inspection.
Request is granted. I will note that no other parties appeared in this case. That concludes our hearing for case number 31304, and that concludes our hearings for the day.